Alrighty, we're all here. Welcome, welcome, one and all. We are on part three of our. How many parts is this going to be if we watch 3 episodes a week? Like
Um,
20 episodes, so like
seven.
uh 7. Part three of our 7 parts watch along of the first season, book one air or no, sorry, book one water of Avatar: The Last Airbender with the book four air restoration project crew. I am tonight's host, Curtis, and with me are several lovely people who have various insights onto various parts of production, and we are going to be rewatching the first season, reacting and sharing our thoughts and commentaries. I'm going to go down the line here. As I mentioned, I'm Curtis. I am a part of the video team and our main YouTube and community uh, person, I guess you call it. YouTube channel manager. That's the official role we said. Alrighty, so then going down the line here, we have Dorn.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Curtis. My name is Dorn. I recently joined the writer's room here in this phenomenal crew of Book 4 Restoration Project. And yeah, happy to be here to share insights and discuss the amazingness of Avatar: Last Airbender. And
Ooh.
all these, and all these people here are just amazing and powerhouses in their own right. And that's the truth. And I'll shut up now.
Yeah. We brought you here to speak.
You can't
All right.
control him. He's a rebel. You tell him to speak, he shuts up.
Very well.
Yeah.
All right. Next one down the line, Iris.
Oh dear. Hello. I am Iris. I have done some odd jobs on the project, and I will be, I believe, in the upcoming part, right? Voicing Alua, which I always get the pronunciations of the characters wrong because English is not my first language, and for most things that's fine, but for proper names I sometimes just veer towards different pronunciations. So when people were making fun of people saying "ang" in the Shyamalan version, I was like, oh, that was actually what the dub here called him. I am tangenting during my introduction. I should give the floor to the next person.
Okay. As we welcome also the people in chat, several people saying hi, and someone saying congrats on 25K. Thank you very much, objectively AJ. I am assuming you are one of the 25K people that have helped us got to that number, as are the rest of you in chat. So thank you. It's a huge milestone for us all. So yeah, next up, James.
Hi, my name is James. I am the music director for the Book 4 Restoration Project.
Yeah, shortest one yet. You get a gold star.
E.
Next up, Calther.
Oh snap, that's me.
Yes.
Hi, howdy. I am Kawthar Harak Sharif. My friends call me Cal. I am the voice of Toph in our Book 4 Air production. And I cannot talk. I'm also part of the writing team. I'm a voice actor, but I can't talk. The curse. I did want to say one thing. Last stream, it's been eating me alive. Last stream, when I was reading someone's username in Arabic, I said it was Mohammed, but it was Ahmed, and I feel really, really stupid for making that that mistake. So I just want to clarify. I do know how to read letters. I just messed up. I misspoke.
It's not your fault Toph can't read. That's not your fault. You're just being in character. All right? It makes sense to me. I get caught up in character. Sometimes I get so caught up in character I try to kill Ryoma. It happens, you know.
It
happens.
happens.
It's just method.
Yeah, that's true, and that just means you're being a little silly Billy, and then that's all right.
I'm basically always a little silly Billy. It's my natural state.
Flipper says your voice acting is really good. I don't know if that's addressed at all of us or to you specifically, Cal, but either way, your voice
I'm
acting
just gonna cry. Really thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I might dip out for a bit or I might dip out early, and both of those things might happen. But for our Muslim followers, happy Ramadan Mubarak to all who observe. So yeah, I will have to. Reason I was late is because I was praying Asr. So yeah, I will dip out early, but I will probably be back, and we're gonna have a fun time tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, a very warm welcome, yes, to our lovely Calther. And next, our final two people down the line.
Do you want to go first, or should I?
Listen, my name's Zuko. I'm Cade Watts. You know who I am. Thank you.
No, it's the other way. My name's Kate Watts. I'm Zuko.
What? You criticize everything I do, sis!
I'm Lucia Lobosvia. I am one of the two showrunners. I am the head writer and the voice of Princess Azula. I also do various incidental voices, so if you can find me in the background, you win a prize. The prize of knowing you are better at that than Cade.
Hey! I'm incidental
mean-
voices too, you know.
Is the bar very high?
Oh my god. I'm also
I'm
incidental.
so sorry, I didn't
voices.
mean that.
Cow, you can't see how high the bar is.
I'm pretty much all of our voice
Touche.
actors. Pretty much all of our voice actors do incidental voices. Like, it's whoever's around. We're like,
Yeah,
come here, do
it's
this.
It's just whoever's around.
Mhm.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. I'm really excited. Curtis, excited to have you MC this week, and
Yeah.
let's see what happens. Why don't we just jump right into it? For
Um,
anyone
or-
joining us
yeah.
who hasn't been here before, Curtis, we'll go ahead and explain what we're doing, and we'll get
Yes,
started.
yes. So again, for all the returning people, you know what's up. For all the new people, which is very likely since we've had quite a few new subscribers this past week, we are going to be watching it along amongst ourselves. Now, we will not be streaming the episode as we watch it. However, we will be showing the timestamp of where we are currently at in the episode. We will all be muted while it's playing, but everyone will in the call will be reacting within the live chat of the stream. So as you guys watch along, feel free to mention things that pop out. We will say things that were like, oh, here's a funny joke, or here's a cool thing that we noticed, or something like that. There will be a time on screen that will indicate when we will resume discussion once the episode has finished. And again, tonight we are watching episodes 7, 8, and 9. So yeah, I believe that is all that we need to cover. And with that being said, I say we get straight into the watching.
All right, yeah.
Let's commence.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Yeah. yeah, because as we do a lot of talking, as we found out last week. So the sooner the better.
And the week prior.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Alrighty, we have returned. We have watched episode 7, part 1 of the Winter Solstice. I feel like the mid-season finale of episode or book 1 is the one that I remember the least here, but now seeing a lot of stuff, I feel like we'll definitely have a lot of stuff to say. We're gonna start things off because you might need to leave in a bit. Cowther, your thoughts first.
Yeah, sorry. I dipped mid-episode because my dad didn't want to make the soup himself. So here I am. I'm back. Thoughts, yes. I like how this is really your first taste of like spirit world shenanigans, so to speak. You've heard about like the spiritual nature of the Avatar, and there's been like allusions to what his role is and all that. But I like that we as the audience are learning what that could entail alongside Aang himself. This is a 12-year-old kid suddenly thrust into this role of authority. I think it's really funny how you see the villagers who are like, "Oh, are you the Avatar?" And that they roll up to them in the middle of that forest, and I think it's so cute. Aang's little turn to Katara, like, "Is this guy cool? Should we tell him what's up?" And she nods, and he's like, "Yeah, I am." And then they're immediately like, "Here, we are thrusting this big otherworldly problem onto your shoulders. You're the Avatar. You better figure it out." But it's interesting because there's on the one hand like this level of like reverence and respect that you wouldn't think a child should necessarily receive, and then like this willingness to just like it's almost like an audience's suspension of disbelief, like this willingness that like anything this child says or does is the divine will of the Avatar. Of course he knows exactly what he's doing, he's the Avatar. but it's cute to see how he's kind of like, well, I have to live up to these expectations. I have a role to fulfill. This is my job. This is my responsibility. And these things have come about because of my absence, because of my lack of making a difference or putting forth. But at the same time, he's just one kid and he's still learning the ropes. So it's nice to see that kind of vulnerability of a child having to deal with this situation. But I like
Yeah.
that we see Aang figuring it out. And like trial and error. I love that comment that the Book 4 Air YouTube made where it was like that customer service energy. That was amazing. I think that's really fun. I also think it's fun how you see Sokka not really knowing what the heck is going on, but he's still standing by despite his skepticism, despite his like he plays very much like a straight man to the comedy elements in these opening parts where he's still kind of wrapping his head around the fantastical nature of the world they live in. And just like the hijinks that the Avatar and co find themselves in. So I think that's really funny and just a nice little touch because you get to see like different perspectives. It's not, yeah, we live in a magical world and this is our, this is our Tuesday night. Like, no, there is some of the stuff that's really bonkers. And I think Sokka does a really good case of like showcasing like the layman's perspective, like what the average Joe, how they might feel about this stuff.
Like for the Sokka thing, I think it's pretty strong characterization for him as sort of a double-edged thing that he is rebellious in a way that is like he will immediately go help his friend. Like he has that instinct, but also like he doesn't really get the note that hey, like nature spirits are not something that fighting will do anything
Right.
constructive with.
Yes.
So, like
I
the way
agree.
he
That's
helps is completely unhelpful, but it does show that he is like, he's got that spark in him.
he's a little confused, but he's got the spirit, and I respect him
Well,
for
he
it.
did not.
Technically, had Sokka not gotten himself kidnapped, Aang wouldn't have gotten into the spirit world.
Right. And so all things, all according to Keipaku, like everything according to plan. It's all for the best.
Bigger means plan.
Yeah, Keipaku means plan.
Sorry.
I also like. No, thank you for clarification. I didn't do that. I also really like Katara, especially in these early episodes. But it's a big part of her role in the friend group, in the relationship. She is like that pillar of support, of comfort. So she sees like when they open on that first scene and like that scarred forest, that horrible burned landscape. And you see Sokka about to go off on his tirade and how upset he is. And then he's like, what? I can't be upset. And Katara, without a word, just is like, hey, someone else's feelings right now need to take precedence in this. Like, you can be upset and you are angry, but this is like his first taste of the devastation that the Fire Nation is bringing about on the world. Like, let him have a moment to have space for his big feelings. And does a really good job of hearing what he's upset about and then what is the word, like giving it back to him in a more constructive way. Like, I hear you're upset about these things, and she's like, it's not your fault. He's like, no, it is. This is my responsibility. These things happen because I wasn't here to stop it. And she's like, okay, I can understand why you feel that way. Look at it from this angle. Look at how there's a positive side to this. And Aang is so often the optimistic little ball of light that he is, but he wouldn't remain that way if he didn't have Katara to help him reframe those moments of negativity, those moments of self-doubt. And I think that just goes to show like what a great dynamic it is, because you have Sokka playing the straight man, so you get to see like, okay, this is not just, everyone's not just gonna accept this kind of bonkers shenanigans right off the bat. You also have him with, like, as Iris mentioned, that gung-ho, I'm gonna, I'm here on the side of my friend. I don't know what's going on, but I'm here and I'm on your side. And then Katara, who's a little bit more maybe like emotionally cognizant or a little more nuanced approach, being like, all right, let me help him navigate this. And I think that's a big part of why Aang.
For this. I'll put it in chat.
I think that's a really big part of why Aang grows into the avatar he is in such a short amount of time. I think especially in the beginning, but across the board, Katara is a big part of him learning to navigate what it means to be the avatar and how he is going to, like, what it means for him to be the avatar, not just all of the avatars that came before him. And of course, Roku is definitely there as mentorship, which we will get to. But I think it's just really great that he has Katara there as that pillar of support to help him learn how he's going to be the Avatar, how he is going to fill in those shoes in his Aang way, not just like the way he's expected to or the way he thinks he's supposed to. So I think that's just really cool. A lot of cool tidbits, a lot of cool Heibai stuff, spirit world stuff, and it starts to flesh out the world building and the lore of the universe that we're inhabiting. I will stop because I will talk forever. I'll pass the floor to someone else.
Thank you. But yeah. So in summary, Sokka's a straight man, Aang's the optimist, Katara's the backup optimist.
Yeah, she's that pillar of moral support.
Yes.
She's the batteries in Aang's flashlight.
Can I
Okay.
can I jump on that because I love what she was saying and I have some stuff to add specifically about.
Sure.
Please.
So Aaron Ehas wrote this one, which is very clear to me because it's very good. A lot of the writers are actually excellent. You start to get a vibe for what they are. And as someone who's the head writer, I look up to him as the head writer of some great shows. You can tell how much he wanted to lay the groundwork in this episode for the rest of the writers' room to be able to build upon. I do this in my scripts when we do for book 4, where I will sometimes tackle some lore heavy ones to establish things so that everyone else in the writers' room is then free to write their episodes and has a very firm foundation. It's clear that's what he was doing here. Really great writing. And another place where I feel like the live action fell down, because in the live action, the spirit world is not well explained. The rules seem really random and just kind of pulled them in, I guess. There's random spirits just chilling on the crossroads. Here we learn a lot about the characters just by how this affects them. Like the fact that Aang is meant to be the spiritual bridge, but he has no idea what to do because he's 12. Like, what relatable energy that he's
Right.
just like, yeah, nah, I got this. And he just like wanders out there and he's like, hello, like, I got this.
Hello, Aang here.
Yeah. But his optimism, his indomitable optimism is so important because look at how even the spirit is so wounded, they just went full aggressive. Something that's going to be echoed later with Jet as well. Because no one else in this world, like we were talking about last episode, has known a life without war. Aang is free to be so optimistic and sunny because he has known a world before that. And so he actually is able to separate himself from that hopelessness and be able to approach a problem that seems impossible with optimism and a smile and not give up until he resolves it. But on top of that, we get a great setup for Roku, foreshadowing for the ticking time clock with the comet, and we also get some excellent character work. Sokka not remembering anything that happened in the spirit world and just being like, "Yo, I gotta pee," and then immediately asking for stuff tells us right there Sokka is the grounded pragmatist, the materialist. The fact that he has no aptitude for spiritual stuff is the point, right? Because as much as Aang has an aptitude for spirit stuff, Aang is 12. He doesn't have the capacity to plan for everyday things like making sure everyone is fed and everyone is clothed because he's 12. And that's something Sokka's had to worry about, same as Katara. And he more than anyone is that grounded materialist pragmatist, trying to make sure they have food and money and wood and all those things. And I find it very interesting how their different strengths are really differentiated here versus Katara, who, like Aang, brings hope, but it's a different sort of hope because Aang's hope comes from having grown up in a life where things were hopeful. So when he encounters a problem that's too devastating, something beyond what he could handle, like seeing the forest burned, that's where Katara comes in because she's had to find hope when there was nothing to hope for. And something I'm sad is that the live action had her say, Gran told me X, Y, and Z, which is not nearly as powerful as Katara reaching inside of herself and telling Aang, hey, plants grow back. And this is especially easy to see why she would know this because when you grow up in the South Pole, I'm sure there's only certain times of the year they can get wood and all those things they need to gather. And they might even have to sail to nearby islands to get it if the permafrost near them doesn't grow. And even if they're using evergreen trees, you can't just waste them all. And you have to wait till spring for more plants to grow, right? And so that's something she must learn very well is you have to wait. Things will grow back. And so for her to reach inside of herself, make that connection and remind Aang, hey, things will grow back. And then we see Aang use that later, right? Once he figures out who Heibai is, heals him with the acorn, the same thing Katara gave to him. And in this sense, we see the symbiotic nature of Katara and Aang and how much they support and help each other. Like Cal was saying, she's a pillar of support. And I think they both fit their elements very well for this because water and air are symbiotic, you know? And
Yes, the
I
water
think that's,
cycle.
yeah, the water cycle, right? And I think that's just beautiful how Aang has this great task to support the whole world, and there he has Katara to catch and support him. So he's not doing it on his own. And then and she's supporting, you know, the spiritual, emotional parts of him. He also has Sokka to catch him for the material parts, the physical, make sure he's fed, make sure we got money. So
He grounds him in a way.
yes, exactly. We need a combination of pragmatism and idealism because an idealist without someone to ground you, you're not going to get anything done. Having great ideas and no real plan of action, it's going to fall apart. But
It's
having
true.
pragmatism
I'm
without
looking at myself.
idealism, you're never going to make change, right? And so I really appreciate how they both embody like a yin and yang balance for Aang, with Katara nurturing his spirit and Sokka nurturing his literal physical needs. And I feel like part of the problem with the live action is that everyone's roles are kind of muddled. Aang doesn't do a whole lot of heroics, and his spirit stuff happens to the others too. And Sokka talks to a wolf or a fox spirit that turns out to be you, and it's all just so confusing. I liked it way better when Sokka had no spiritual aptitude because it really differentiates the characters and their different strengths and how they have to work together and rely on each other. Anyway,
And
I love this episode.
I really love everything that you just added. Amazing. I was like, you put into words things that I was like getting at, but I didn't articulate properly. So thank you so much. I even want to just add one tiny little thing.
No,
I
do it.
like
I
the
love
way you describe. Thank you. I love the way you described the difference in the type of optimism of Katara and Aang specifically, because it's like you mentioned, Aang came from a world without war, and he has that idealism. And I would say, like, because of what Katara has endured, hers Aang's is like this blind idealism, like things will work out, there is goodness, because he's seen it and he knows that it exists. There's that firm belief in the good will triumph.
Yeah.
And Katara, because she's seen the harsh realities, hers is like an optimism of nurturing. It is a love will prevail. We can endure. We will last. Not just everything will work out just cause. It is a with love and with caring and with nurturing and taking care of one another, we will come through this. Like, it is a weathering of the storm. So I think
You
that's
know
really cool
what?
how you mentioned that.
That actually also, what you're saying is perfectly also embodies their elements because Aang,
Yeah,
being that kind of optimistic idealist like air, detached from the problems of the world, versus
exactly.
Katara, water is changeable and adaptable and it'll get through any situation.
It
Like,
literally weathers down rock. It erodes
yeah,
the problem.
even if it has to wait, it'll do it.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Sokka is ice because he's cool as hell, and I love him. Somebody asked a question. Oh God, more mommy and mommy. What was the question? Why can Iroh see spirits? Iroh can see spirits because canonically, after he lost Lu Ten, he went on some spirit journey shit trying to find him. But dead people don't live in the spirit world. It is the realm of the spirits, something that Korra and the live action have both kind of muddled. But originally, it was not the realm for dead people. It was the realm for the spirits. And because Iroh traveled through it, that is why he can see Roku's dragon thing.
Yeah.
So
I also I love that the Earth Kingdom people capture Iroh the way he did. One of my big grievances with the live action was it makes no sense that they captured Iroh in Omashu. He is a dangerous war criminal. He is the Fire Lord's brother. And what does Boomy do? Instead of either arranging a hostage exchange or something with the Fire Lord or flat out executing him, Boomy puts him in an open cart with only like 4 dudes to guard him, barely chained, and sends them out into a war zone where anyone can ambush them, and predictably Zuko does. This doesn't make any sense for a prisoner of that caliber, that risk, that danger. You would never do this. On top of the weirdness,
that Boomy is a prankster and a memester, and he was clearly just referencing the Skyrim opening at Iroh.
I would believe that if he
Style
was a prankster and a memester, but he's not one in the live action. He's just a jerk. So like,
that's right.
Even that doesn't work. So I find that weird. I much prefer it here where the soldiers just kind of stumble upon him and they're like, oh, we need to take you somewhere to be tried for your crimes. And a lot of people say that they were shocked by the live action addressing the horrible things Iroh did at Ba Sing Se. And I don't know why they're shocked because it's addressed here. It's more subtextual, but they do flat out say he caused, chaos and violence. They want to smash his hands. They clearly don't like this guy for a reason.
I mean, you have to think about it. He laid siege to this great stronghold of a city for 600 days.
Yeah.
That is more than a year. That is almost 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
To think about being under fire, under fear. Maybe you can't get resources into the city. Maybe, you don't know if your loved ones will ever be able to return, or if you will ever be able to escape in time if you are worried for the sake of your life. Imagine just the fear and the harrowing of what an experience that was to this city that was thought to be untouchable, this stronghold that was the only safe haven for the Earth Kingdom people, because everywhere else was vulnerable, everywhere else, nowhere was confirmed safe. And
Do you want
this
me?
place,
I
sorry, I
want
have
to point out.
feelings.
No. I just want to say, do you want me to bring up something horrifying when you think about it? You know how Iroh gives Azula that toy doll, the fashion doll from Bossing Say?
Hmm.
Where'd he get it?
Mhm.
Right.
Where'd he get it? He
Oh.
only made it into the agrarian zone. There's not going to be toy salesmen in the agrarian zone. He didn't make it into the place with the shops. Where'd he get it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
giving
Whatever the
Mulan and that little doll or the
whatever
Huns.
the answer is, it's horrifying. Like
It
whatever
is.
the answer is, it must be horrifying. Like anyone who says that he gave that doll to Azula to try to make her more nurturing or whatever sexist BS some fans say, like, no, dude, he picked that off of somebody, and whatever the conditions were where he took it, it must have been horrifying. Like,
Because the only two I could think of, either A, a soldier was going to give that to their daughter and Iroh killed it and took it off his corpse, or B, where did Bossing Say throw all their dead bodies?
or C, because they were sieging them, they were blocking all supplies. That means food, water,
Right.
medicine, toy imports, exports, everything.
Another thought I just had was, what if it was some noble family trying to escape and they were captured, children and all?
Yeah, that could be it too. No matter what happened, the answer's horrifying.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bad time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I-
sorry. We
I guess-
dominated it.
I
I'll
guess
let you
the
go.
big
Sorry, yeah,
thing-
I'm done.
I don't know about you guys, but the big thing is that when I initially saw that and they said they seized the city, despite knowing military terminology, I didn't expect the show to actually know what that means. So when I heard the term, oh, he sieged it for 600 days, I didn't perceive that as like, oh, he did this terrible thing. It was more so just like, he was at this for a very long time sort of thing, more of the career thing, whereas the Netflix show is a lot more like, oh yeah, it was bad, this is exactly what he did. So I think that's why a lot of people are surprised, is because the show said it a lot more subtly than live action. So alrighty then. While we were going
Sorry,
through-
the dogs are freaking out here, so I'm going to mute for a bit. But
okay. All right.
I have thoughts about what you said, Curtis, but I've been talking way too long, so I'm going to keep my mouth shut for the sake of the group.
Okay. All right,
I love you guys.
okay. All right, then we'll quickly get some other ones moving up. James, Music Man.
Yeah. Music-wise, I gotta admit I wasn't paying as much attention as I usually do. Just a lot of streams set up that was sprung upon me at the last minute. Sorry about that. One thing I did want to point out, though, we were sort of discussing, how Aang and Katara's elements complement each other, and that sort of plays into their chemistry. And I wonder if, because the episode starts with Aang jumping into a cloud and discovering that clouds are made of water, wondering if that sort of symbolism in that gag was intentional at all.
Knowing Aaron Ehas wrote this episode, probably.
Also, that's some big brain energy, James. I didn't even think about that. Shooketh right now.
Yeah, that was definitely a question where I was just like, oh yeah, if they had modern technology, they know exactly what the answer is. And just like, I'm just going to jump. And I was like, oh, I guess that also works.
But I think it's funny because in the fortune teller episode, it's like, can your
Yes.
science explain why it rains? Sokka's like, yes, it
Yes,
can.
That's true.
So there is some level of understanding.
Maybe Aang
Yeah,
just
I think that's
didn't
just a
know
little
it
continuity
because
club.
maybe science is just not a course that air monks
Fair
take
enough.
when they're training.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, but I
Also, which
doubt
I
that
don't think this
Sokka
is
has had much
necessarily
traditional education.
in the Avatar realm. Like, I don't think this is necessarily explored, but it is also very common for different nations and different cultures to have different understandings of science and like how they've studied it, and so they might not all share the same belief in, oh, this is science, this is a universal fact.
Although
It does make sense that the water benders would know the clouds are made out of water.
at the same
Right.
time, though, the airbenders live on mountaintops, sometimes above the cloud lines. You would think that if they're living above the cloud lines, they would pass through clouds every now and then.
It also could be that he's 12 and he didn't get to that grade where they discussed that.
Possibly,
What's
yes.
Okay, we'll discussions on the Air Nomads education system. We're gonna revoke their funding at this rate. Need to get their eyes
Well, because they don't have the attendance. How are they going to get the funding?
Oh, dang.
Sorry, that was a dark joke.
Oh, anything else, James?
Compared to the live action, I really like how they did the spirit world in this episode, and particularly I'm glad that they were clear about what happened with Heibai, because like at the start of the episode, Katara explains these acorns are a sign of hope, and at the end of the episode, and gives it directly to Heibai. In the live action, I'm not sure. Do they ever find the acorns before?
So to answer your question, James, Fox Yue gives it to Sokka in the spirit world.
Because Sokka has to solve every problem in the life.
Thanks, I hate it.
Okay, yeah, that I guess sort of got blocked out of my mind. So
I don't blame you. It's the worst episode.
yeah,
Repression.
that was awful. Then but otherwise, yeah. So of course, a much more solid implementation of spirits in this episode. Yeah, musically, I did pick up on a combat theme that I didn't pick up on before. I'll have to remember that and maybe incorporate it into the project.
While we're talking about music, I remember there was one song, I think it's when they were talking about Heibai before his first appearance in the little house.
Yeah.
And I noticed a song that sounded very similar to the Song of Healing from Majora's Mask.
Oh.
Okay. I do know that they quote the main theme a lot.
Yeah, I noticed too.
And I'll have to listen to it again, but it might have been a quote of the main theme. If you play it in a certain way, especially oftentimes in moments like that, they'll just have it play on like a solo cello or solo violin, just a single string player or a single string section, just playing the melody. And if you play it a certain way, it can resemble the Song of Healing.
Not that this needs to be said, but I'm gonna be right back so I can have food ready when it's time to break fast. But I will be right back.
Of course.
Alrighty then. So, Iris.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned this, I believe, in chat before, and I don't think this is too much of an expertise giver, but I feel I should at least mention it and go over it briefly. I've done a Japanese film course in uni, and I wrote a paper on environmentalism in the Studio Ghibli movies. And I thought it was I tried sort of going through this episode in through that sort of lens, because it is the first foray into environmentalism and sort of, I suppose, commenting on the devastation that the war can have on the natural world, like that Avatar goes into. They'll do more of it later, and especially with the Fire Nation's industrialism, and some of the season finale stuff goes into it more. I think as a first foray, it suffers a little bit from it being kind of a B plot in an episode that is more focused on generally going about explaining the nature of spirits, having already an extra plot about Iroh's capture, so it leaves not that much time for that whole theme. I think Avatar's approach to discussing environmentalism is fairly interesting. I like to think of it generally as sort of a scale from Fern Gully to Nausicaa, where on one end you focus a lot, because a lot of sort of commentary on environmental destruction is about whether you focus more on the fucking around or the finding out. And something like Ferngully, like focuses a lot on the fucking around. It says like, hey, like you should have, or like before you do something that pollutes or that like has negative impact, you should have empathy for the environment. That's why we're sort of anthropomorphizing it and giving it more of a voice. And we're telling you to basically keep it in mind before you do anything that is destructive. Whereas something like Nausicaa is more focused on the reality that the natural world is in some form always going to be around, and the only thing that its destruction is doing is making it unlivable for humans. So it's more focused on, yeah, no, if you go too far, if you push this too much, it will just bite you in the ass.
Mm.
And I think in terms of where Avatar falls on that scale, it's a little bit in the middle. Like I'd say it a lot of times treats the natural world like an animal that can and often will be wounded by the actions of mostly the Fire Nation. And I think by sort of separating the natural and spirit worlds, they're muddying that message a little bit, but they do still often use spirits as a sort of more direct mouthpiece, or at least action piece, for to let the natural world sort of speak for itself more, to give it a way to directly react to what is being done to it and make it a little bit more of a discussion. In the case of Heibai, I think it mostly works, but they show that it is lashing out, that this sort of destruction being caused is having like long-lasting effects and making the land harder to live in this case, in the form of a very literal, like, angry spirit that is just attacking anyone who comes near. I just think that the resolution to it feels a little bit rushed, a little bit disconnected from the actual problem, because you can see that the thing that lets Avatar Aang resolve this is because he has learned the magic trick that will let him sort of communicate with spirits, that is just like touching them. And he was already trying to communicate before this, so it's not a spiritual revelation, it's more just a very practical, he is learning the trick part, which
He
is
finally got it.
It shows a lot of like positive things about Aang. It's very revelatory of his character, that it is his first instinct to try and listen and talk with the spirit and try to resolve things that way. I do think that from a theming of the episode sort of perspective, it makes the resolution a little bit flat, because he was already trying to do this. He just didn't know the right method.
Mm.
And also, just telling the spirit who already represents the forest that, hey, trees grow back, was enough to like I feel like that should have already been in its area of expertise.
Yeah.
But also they
I
had
actually,
like 10
I
seconds to
actually,
resolve it.
I actually disagree. I actually love this resolution. I
Mm.
think it's perfect because Aang's
I
problem.
think it's
I think
like,
the
obviously
reason
you can
why
remind it that he wasn't informing it, he was like reminding it, but it's still like, I feel like they
I
just
don't think
didn't
it.
quite have enough time to.
Well, see, I don't even think that's it. I think that a panda doesn't know bamboo's going to grow back. It doesn't know anything. It just sees the bamboo in front of it. A spirit isn't a human. And I think it's easy for us to be like, that's dumb that the spirit forest had to be told that trees will grow back. But keep in mind, it's not a human. Its logic, the way it sees the world is not like ours. Industrialization has come and destroyed these trees. This is not something the nature spirit has ever seen. This is a blight it does not understand. And like a wounded creature, an extension of the natural world, it's lashing out. It's not that it had to be reminded that trees grow. It's that Aang, as a half human, the one that is harming it, had to remind it that those things would grow back, because it has never seen something like this. It doesn't know what's happening. It's like when a forest burns down, that's not going to comfort the fox that's running away from its home. Don't worry, it'll grow back. The fox is just scared and hurt and angry. But if you save it out of a trap and then bring it back to the woods once they've grown back, that's basically it, right? Aang is shepherding a wounded spirit. The reason talking didn't work is because Aang, who has not learned how to communicate to spirits, tried to talk to it like a person. It didn't understand. He had to talk to it as a spirit, which is the way he resolves it, is that he first has to understand what the problem is and make a spiritual connection. And the reason why I think this is significant is because it is setting up that Aang can commune with spirits. He has to learn how, but this is going to come back in the finale when he communes.
That is
Remember,
very
he
true.
does the same thing. He sits in front of the pond and he asks Twee and Law for advice, and it doesn't work. But once Law is wounded because Twee is killed and it's raging out of control, that is when Aang reaches out to commune with it the way it did with Heibai. Only this wrath was far bigger because Heibai, trees will grow back, but the moon won't come back. So Aang was able to soothe Heibai with, hey, I know you're hurt, but the trees will come back. He was unable to soothe Law because the moon won't come back. And so what happens? Law possesses him. And so I think this is actually a more clever ending than it seems, because it's not in of itself. It is set up for exactly why this will fail later when Aang tries it with Law and why he gets possessed. And the wrath of Law rains down. Sorry, that's just my position.
Big brain energy. I have one
think that,
thought on. Oh, sorry,
in-
Aries, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that in terms of plotting and characterization, that is very much true. I do also think in terms of like that aspect of the theming in this specific episode, it like kind of comes at some of the cost of that. But it does like plant the seed for that later interaction with the spirit that I
Plants
I
a
love that
seed.
interaction.
The way I saw it.
I love that you compared it to Nausicaa, because yeah, very big Nausicaa energy. I completely agree. You're smart, you big brain over here.
She is.
All the girls over here are making the best points. Step it up, boys.
What can we say? I was just gonna say the way that ending played out to me is, even if you say the nature spirit should know, I feel like when you're in a moment of deep pain, of deep sorrow and rage, and your emotions are like spiking, you don't necessarily think rationally. You don't necessarily take into account what the facts are. You're just feeling so much. And I think that was a moment of Aang being like, I'm hurting with you. You are not alone in this pain. And having someone who cares as much as you do show you, like, here's also the bright side to this, is just a really powerful moment of empathy.
Yeah.
That's how I took it as a kid and on this rewatch.
Look, if humans are... Oh, sorry, what?
Oh, I said I think that's a good way to take it. And I just, as a quick aside, like, I know that it was a very, like, practical trick that he learned, but I really liked the visual of, like, he got touched at the forehead by that dragon's sort of tendril once, and it was like a shock to him. And you see him immediately just forming an innate or an intuitive understanding of it. And the second time they even try to communicate, Aang like bows his head forward to just show that like he is very quick about learning this. He is
Yes,
That's
exactly.
So true.
He
Good
learned to
point, Iris.
commune.
It's almost like a muscle memory thing. Like, his body knows on some level. He just has to be reminded.
Am I
Like,
misremembering?
on
Did
a
he touch?
characterization level for
Did he
Aang,
touch
that is
Heibai's
very
head?
strong.
Am I
yes.
misremembering? He touched. Yeah. Okay. So that's exactly it, right? He tried to talk to Heibai as a person. It couldn't understand him. But after the dragon spirit of Fang touches his head with its tendril, and Aang understands, like Iris is saying, he bends forward. And what does he do when he goes to talk to Heibai again? He touches his head and understands, I have to speak on a spiritual level, like Fang did with me. I cannot speak to him with words. And it's like learning a new language. Like Iris is saying, Aang picked it up immediately.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out that you're very smart.
So much smart people here. We got too much intelligence. So based. Quickly going through some of the chat ones for moving on. Did interesting thing to point out is like from one person that said in chat, yeah, definitely forest fires do happen, but yeah, the Fire Nation very clearly did this like on a massive unnatural scale. So I'm assuming that, you know, Spirit had definitely had familiarity with forest fires, but like that was a huge thing, and that was very clearly like it wasn't an accident. I assume probably the spirit probably would have witnessed the Fire Nation burning it, like happening, right?
Yeah, there were footprints, so
Something that
Yeah.
frustrates me a little bit about a choice in Korra is that they made the spirit world a separate realm when it's very clear here in Avatar that it's not a clear-cut separation, right? And yeah, the spirits live among us. So yeah, it would have witnessed all that. I'm sorry, Kate, you haven't had a chance to say like anything. Do you want to say something?
I have
Yeah,
been
no, I
waiting
went
my
on like a
turn.
third huge tangent.
Oh God, it's okay.
Next
I'm the
person,
most.
next
I mean,
person.
I wanted to be nice, but I wanted to say it's like, wow, the girls are really power holding the conversation this time with good things. Which is why.
Yes.
So what was it? Oh, right. To quickly cap on this whole like hey bye thing, I think what's important to remember but easy to forget is that even though Heibai is the spirit of the forest, I think we also kind of have to remember that with spirits like these, they don't just guard the forest. They also are. Heibai also is the forest itself in like a spiritual form, just like Twee is the moon. So the burning of the forest is also kind of like. I imagine to Heibai it probably feels like if our own skin tissue starts going necrotic and rotting away.
Thank you for that mental image.
You're welcome, Miss Medical School. So it's like, for one, even if it has seen forest fires before, even the most terrible raging forest fires still leave a little bit of stuff after they're done. Like, even if all the trees burn down, there's still going to be trees there, but we saw the Fire Nation specifically, like, uprooted and tore down a bunch of fucking trees just so their tanks could, like, drive through it unabated.
It's like whoever said, as book 4 said, it's the difference between breaking your arm because you fell down versus someone else breaking your arm.
And I guess a little unrelated, but this is one of the episodes that I have one of the weirdest but clearest memories of watching it in the original syndication when I was a fucking child. It was early book 1 and a little bit of the early and late of book 3. And I remember the cloud scene very vividly, but I always forget the cloud scene exists until I see it again. I'm like, oh, right. The scene where Aang finds out clouds are more water than air.
Yeah.
But I actually really like the plots to the end because as a kid, you're like, you don't put it together that this volcanic island's probably in the Fire Nation. So when Aang's like, the island is in the Fire Nation, like, oh shit. Oh, they gotta go
yeah.
into bad guy land. That's not good.
Yep.
That's really all I have to say on this episode. Unlike Lucia and Iris and Cow, I don't have nearly as much insightful, intelligent stuff to say. But I will say, Lucia, as much as the girls are dominating this conversation with superior lines of dialogue and stuff, give James some credit. He was able to point out that Aang going through the cloud and finding it's mostly made of water when he and Katara are of air and water elements was a very thoughtful thing he mentioned.
James is super thoughtful and super sharp. Also, Cade, you had like several like lore inserts in the live chat. Don't sell my boys short. They're kings. They're kings.
James isn't a girl? Because we claim him.
what?
Well,
Yeah,
I
we
don't
do.
have-
Do
I
claim
don't
him.
have, well, I don't have the
Honorary.
authority to speak
Yeah.
on that,
We
so
claim James. You guys can't have him. He's ours.
Oh, well, damn. And Cal,
Man.
even my lore things aren't really mine because I'm literally just coasting off stuff Lucia's told me already. So that's not, you can't.
You guys
credit that to
don't
me.
understand. Poor Kate. Like, just like Zuko, he has to listen to me talk all the time. I'm so sorry. That must be very hard a lot in life. Just listen to me
Mwah.
all the
Can
It's-
I get
if you-
accepted by the women?
No.
Kate,
Okay.
what? Kate, what? You just answered me? Wow.
Yeah.
This is why you won't be one of
Well,
us.
no,
Speaking
because
for us.
that's what a man does, speaks for the women.
Oh my
That's my
God.
job.
Okay. Anyone
You know, I
else
first
want to
started asking myself if I could be accepted by the women around like age 24, 25, and it took me a few years.
We claim you, Iris. You are one of us.
Okay.
Anyway, anyone else have anything to add?
Okay, so yeah, we have one person left to speak who has been very patiently waiting this entire time.
Yes.
Our dear Dorn.
I was hoping. you would say
Dorn's gonna
Momo.
bring it home for the boys.
I was hoping you would
watch.
say Momo.
Yeah, Momo should be
What
here
if he
too,
wasn't?
honestly. No, it's fine. I actually took that excuse to start preparing my dinner. because while you guys were saying such fascinating, insightful stuff, Iris, Cal, Luthia, you guys are just amazing. Like what all those
Dorn, drag it out. I need to pray still. Drag it out.
What? You want me to drag it out? I could go on forever.
Yes, I need time.
Yeah.
How much time?
Honestly, I really just had I didn't have that many things to talk about. Like the whole thing of Aang discovering what it means to be the Avatar and the cost he's realizing of the Avatar's absence in the world. I think that's just simple and powerful theme in the story. And kind of like, yeah, also as Luthia mentioned that Katara being there to sort of like help supporting him. Well, then we have Sokka that he's like, what the hell? How does the spirit thing work? It's like it's such an interesting like dynamic. But with Sokka, I gotta give him credit because he was like, hey, rule number one in war: you don't let your brother go into a fight without backup. Even though his boomerang against Heibai didn't do much, but hey, you gotta give guts to Sokka.
He's
like,
brave. He's a bro. He's ride or die.
He's so like even though he doesn't know what the hell he's going on, like he's got Aang's back. So I felt like that solidified that, even though we've already established that before. And then the other thing that really was an eye opener for me in this episode, watching it again. Well, yeah, I had the arrow question. Thank you for that answer. Especially you, Luthia. That was because I was always wondering, like, hey, how come Iroh can see it? For a second, I thought, like, watching this episode, I was like, did Iroh drink something from the spring and that's why he saw the dragon? And then I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. So I just had like a brain fart there for a second. But the thing that I liked was that in this episode, I think this is just another, for me, it was just another, watching it again, example of like there's more to Zuko than we realize. Especially when he was going after Iroh, he sees Appa, he says the Avatar, and then he has this fantastic like second hesitation, like, wait, should I go after the Avatar because honor reclaiming? But then he's also like, wait, but my uncle is like being captured by earthbenders and he's probably going to be in danger. So it's kind of like, I feel like that is like, in a way, that is I feel like that was such a great showcase of, in Zuko's own way, like Zuko's loyalty towards Iroh. Iroh has always shown like so much loyalty towards Zuko in the last 3 years. So for me, I felt like that particular small moment and then going to rescue him is Zuko reciprocating in the way like he recognizes what Iroh's done for him and he's like paying him back by going on this rescue mission that, yeah, does deviate from his Avatar mission. But for the first time, we see him put his family, his traveling companion, above that must reclaim my honor drivel. So I just, watching it again was like really hit that home for me. Like we're starting to see peel back a lot more layers of Zuko. Well, there's a lot more, especially when we get to the storm, but I felt like that moment in particular was just so powerful when he's like, he sees Appa, he's about to go after Appa, but then he's like, no. Then he looks over to see, reminding himself like, wait, but I was in danger. I got to do something about that. So that was great. And then, yeah, the whole thing of Heibai and the air cone was great because we didn't even get that in the live action. But I could go on a whole rant there. But I just love how also the episode introduces us the spirit world in a way that we kind of can follow along pretty well. Because I actually do agree that in the live action, there's too much happening. You're just like, what the hell is happening? But here it's like step by step, like, oh, Aang just accidentally jumped into the spirit world, and oh yeah, he's trying to talk to the Heibai, and then oh yeah, and then the Avatar Roku thing, like the bridge of the Avatar between the spirit world and the world of Avatar. Like I feel like, well, it's probably consistent with the rest of the show, but I do like that it's told in such a way that you can follow step by step. And also, I gotta say, it's still funny to me to this day, like Aang's little frustration when Katara asks him, wait, you don't know what's going on? And Aang's like, listen, it's not like there's a freaking manual that someone dropped in my lap to be
How
the
am I
Avatar.
supposed to know?
I love
Yeah,
that.
I feel, well, sorry, small thing I just want to interject there is because, like, in this show, when people ask him like why he doesn't know things, he's very quick to say because there's no way I could have known. Which I think that's a very it's not a huge thing, but also just seeing how in the live action how much people just dunk on him and how like he never really says because he has a very good reason as to like it's like, well, why did you leave? It's like, well, because I didn't, because like I wasn't trying to do it, it was literally out of my control. Stop. Jeez,
like
you're
giving him leeway. Yeah, exactly. I feel like that makes so much more sense than the whole unnecessary dunking of him in the live action. Like here, it's kind of like, dude, he's a freaking 12-year-old child. Whoever was supposed to
It's
train him
weird.
in all this, he doesn't know. He hasn't even been able to contact Roku. Like, cut him
They
some
take
little.
away his biggest mistake and then give him way more flack for it.
Yeah,
yeah, I guess so.
Which makes even less sense, but that's
oh,
another
yeah.
story.
Quick question, just because we got it from chat of who in the call has rewatched the series the least. I'm gonna say it. Who has rewatched it less than 3 times?
This
Oh, me.
would count as my third rewatch. I am.
Same.
Yeah, I watched
Okay.
it when it first. Like, I watched the first 4 episodes when they first aired. I didn't stick with it. I watched the first show. I watched it start to finish for the first time when it first came to Netflix, and then I watched it a second time in preparation for the Book 4 project.
Mm-hmm.
And this
I'm
would
also
be my third.
3, so
Well,
I don't
so
I don't think any. Partially because we're all in production stuff. Unless I think
Yeah.
someone else was gonna say something.
Yeah, so this is my third. I've watched the show 2 times in its entirety.
Hmm.
I have watched the show the least out of everyone.
That's always lying!
That's true. I've watched it like 500 times.
To my memory, I have watched it all the way through twice, but this is like my third time rewatching book 1 specifically. I've never made it to book 2.
Not
a
only have
third
I
time.
rewatched it way more times than can be healthy, I've like DM'd Aaron Eha's questions before. I don't know why that man is kind enough to put up with me and answer them. He could just block. He does not.
He doesn't have to block, he could just ghost.
Yeah, he's so nice. He doesn't have to.
Okay.
All right, Lucia, but have you considered that you're the best?
Have you
No.
considered you're actually likable? I'm gonna bring this back around to when we were talking about, oh, doesn't the Heibai know that the force is gonna regrow? It's like humans are in themselves are very bad at remembering things they already know, especially when it comes to emotional things. I can buy that a spirit animal.
You can
like,
Heibai.
Yes.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Yeah. You know what, Curtis? You're so right. Pandas are so dumb. They forgot they were carnivores at some point and started eating bamboo. I'm serious. This is why bamboo.
Oh,
does
you're
not give
right.
them-
Yeah, no, this
It's
spirit
true. They need
panda
help
you
mating from
cannot fault it
zookeepers.
for.
Yeah, they don't have enough energy because they at some point in history started eating bamboo and forgot they have carnivore digestive systems. Like, this is true.
I want to say
Wonder-
something. Oh, go,
Yeah.
Iris. Say your thing.
There's like one more bit that I don't think we've discussed and that I would like to bring up real quick. Is that
Do
in
it.
the broader like sort of line of avatars, I think it's interesting and cool that they establish that you cannot bend in the spirit world, which kind of leaves you at its mercy. It like takes away one of your biggest like means of both self-defense and imposing your will, and it basically just leaves you completely like at the mercy of these creatures. And this
Like everyone is on an equal
in the
footing.
broader in the broader series of avatars that have come before and after him, comparatively, this is where Aang thrives, which I think is an interesting statement on his, on like his best means of conflict resolution, and also definitely for later in his life cements him as a bottom.
All right, we ready to start the next episode?
I was about to.
Yes,
Hold on,
Dorn
hold on. I
successfully
needed to say something
stalled.
to segue into this.
I zoned out there.
I was gonna go, damn, if we had this much to say about the first part, we're never gonna get to the waterbending scroll at
All
this
right,
rate.
let's go.
Yeah, okay, so
All
right.
really quick before we head in, just double checking in with chat here. Trepok says only found the project because they were watching through the third time in a long time and they wanted to read the comics afterwards, and boom. All right. Well, Triplets, thank you for joining us. We're happy to have
Thank
you here.
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Yeah. Okay. I think we're good to go
Happy.
then.
I am the most happy to have you. I am the most happy out of everyone. Everyone else sucks. I love you the most, and I'm glad you're here.
Also, don't forget you can drop a super chat, and any of our VAs in chat will read whatever you write in character.
We're
And remember,
contractually obligated.
Yes.
if you pay Zuko for anything, if you pay me even a cent more than him, like I will go all out just to dunk on him.
And even if you make it in the middle of the episode, we will get to it as soon as the episode
Yeah.
ends.
All right.
Yes.
All right.
Here
All right.
we
Next one?
go.
Episode
do it.
8. Hey, we're back. That was another episode.
It was.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful here. I'm gonna start with myself. Just to, someone said in chat earlier that this was the first instance of someone from the Fire Nation helping out the good guys. If someone could shout out specifically who that was.
That was objectively AJ.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the first time we sort of get some real moral grayness from the Fire Nation as a whole. Uh, in the same episode, this is I think the most of like Fire Nation stuff we see when we see that huge blockade of like just how many ships they have protecting their borders, just to give you an idea of just how powerful they are. Because this is the first time we go to their homeland, and now we see like, oh, they mean business. They got a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, they've got enough stuff to go around the world and fight wars and stuff, that they have enough to protect their own home. In a similar vein, I forgot to mention this last episode, but last episode we had like the first instance, that of Iroh, there was more that meets the eye. When we were talking about, oh, he saw the spirits. considering we sort of consider the spirits, like if you're able to see them, like because as of right now, the only person who has had direct interaction with spirits in the spirit world has been the Avatar. So for the fact that Iroh was able to see it, even though he's like a part of the bad guys, you sort of go like, oh, wait a second. Is there something we don't know about this guy? And we eventually get it later on. I know someone asked it and then it was answered in a question, but I like it more how at early on this is a mystery you get, and we don't get to see it pay off until later. It helps with the intrigue. Um, and yeah, this is where we get to see Aang first contact with uh, a previous avatar, like officially, and he gets the timestamp that we have for the rest of the series, or the ticking time bomb, I guess, if you will. Yeah, yeah. Even in the Fire Nation, there are regular people. Yeah. Well, I really like how the show in general just fleshes out all of the nations with both good and bad to help them seem a lot more real and three-dimensional.
Yeah, nothing is black and white. There's nuance to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, hey, Dorn is back.
Hello.
Oh, you
yeah. Sorry.
returned.
I just had to step outside for a little bit, but
right.
yeah, just listening along.
Alrighty,
Unless you have all
then.
like talked about the episode.
I was about to say I just went. Your turn is next.
Oh shit! Really? Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Perfect timing.
That's crazy. All right. Yeah. So I don't have too much to say really this time around because this is like again another example of the yeah Aang figuring things out, and I think it's also really interesting the whole lore behind the Fire Sages, like how they were supposed to be loyal only to the Avatar, but that purpose got corrupted except for that one guy who remembered Jayu, I think his name was.
Shia,
Yeah, like he remembered the tradition, like at least. So at least he was
Yeah.
like there and willing to lend a hand because if not, it looked like yeah, Aang was not gonna make it. And I have to say that it always gets me that scene where it looks like he's not gonna make it and the doors are closing and he's got to do all those great and how he somersaults Zuko and somersaults all the fire sages just to get to the entrance because that was like such a last minute, like he almost got it, but
Yeah.
he got it in the end. He got it, but like it always
Sliding
gets
underneath
me
the door, getting Indiana
Very
Jones's
Indiana
hat.
Jones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes, that's actually a fantastic analogy, Cal, because like it very felt last minute. So, and I
Curtis
think
said it too. Sorry.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's like yeah,
We're in
at the beginning of the
agreement.
film with the rolling boulder, the rock rolling boulder in Raiders of the Lost Ark, like that
The
kind of thing.
boulder takes issue with Aang sliding under the door.
Well, yeah, that was yeah, basically yeah.
I'm
But
sorry.
well, with death traps and all that, yeah, no, like I felt
Yeah.
like that because it definitely gives that impression of like you. It makes us a lot more invested also as an audience. Like, is he gonna make it? Is he gonna make it? Is he gonna talk to Roku? Like, what's going
Mhm.
on? And then of course his conversation with Roku, like, oh, I miss how much I love this conversation because it's only like what couple minutes, but it's fantastic because it lays out so much the
Mhm.
future relationship between Aang and Roku, and then also the stakes of like, oh, by the way, bro, you have a deadline, summer's end, because if not, we're all gonna die. And Aang's like, oh, sure, yeah, no pressure, right? Yeah, I got this. I know what I'm doing, kind of. But Roku's like, no, I have faith in you. So I thought that
Yeah.
it's such a like nice first interaction. It's like so sweet and so much better than the live action. Sorry that I keep coming back to the live action, but I did not
Yeah.
like the whole thing of the
That's-
hopping on one leg. It was and sternness. It's like so much better. Like this first one where he says so much naturally, it's good to see you, and what took you so long? So there is a bit of that like humor, but at the same time, it's like that sort of like uncle
he was
grandfather like little role
he
there that
was
he's
more mocking in the live action. Yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like, bro, shut up. You're the reason the 100-year war started. But obviously, the audience doesn't know that yet. But it's so much better because, like, here, it's the link that they established between Roku and Aang, especially Roku being this grandfather, and also this guide for Aang in Avatar business moving forwards, and how pivotal he is for that. So I just love that, like, so much more. And then of course, it always gets me when Roku gives Aang that power up. And then and then Oroku's like, you know what? This whole thing has been tainted for 100 years. I'm gonna just sink it all, and that's just great.
Mom
By the
says
way,
it's my turn on the
Mhm.
Xbox.
yeah, exactly. Like, you know what? Screw this. And then, yeah, he just
Oh my
freaking
god, the
throws the.
Wi-Fi finally connected. I have the controller. I'm gonna make this work.
Yes, yes, no, 100%. Yeah. And then also, it's actually really interesting, this little thing, but I do remember seeing this theory. I wonder what you all think about this. This theory that said that when Roku unleashes that fire, it obviously freed Aang, Katara, and Sokka and Jayu, but also Zuko. So people wonder. I heard this
Oh,
theory that is it because
yeah.
like Roku sensed a descendant of his in the room, so he's like, this one has a role to play in the future, or was it coincidence? I don't know.
Mm.
Well,
I was thinking about that
I
myself.
think that was everyone bound up in chains. It could have just been an AOE thing that just hit all of the chains.
Nice
Maybe.
D&D terminology there.
I know it from World of Warcraft, but I know what AOE is.
Yeah.
AOE spells. I understand that language. Yeah.
Okay, but
It was
yeah.
fascinating me though, for sure.
Yeah, that is an interesting thought. Lots of Indiana Jones references in chat. Yeah, Aang is over 100 years old. He belongs in a museum.
Oh no. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
That.
All
No,
right,
and one
yeah.
last thing I had. Sorry, real quick. One last thing I had. I think this episode also. I love like how this episode also starts to really, in my opinion, start to sell Zhao as a more like legitimate threat than Zuko. Like Zuko's already a problem for Aang and company, but Zhao, especially due to the fact that we have, um, the fact that he kind of saw through Zuko's like little smoke escape
Yes.
attempt,
The
and then
smoke
also
screen, quite literally.
yeah, and then also the fact like he just arrives with a freaking force and to corner Aang. Obviously, the Roku power up helped, but if it hadn't been for that, Aang would have been in trouble. So I think that really was like a very good little moment. Oh, and one last thing. Sorry, just remember one last thing is I think this is also the first time we see in my like from what we've seen in book one, like Iroh really raising his voice at Zuko. Like like I
What?
forgot that little
Are
the
you
line
actually
about
insane?
yeah, like no, the what about like in all your 16 years of walking the face of this earth, Prince Zuko, this has gotta be the dumbest shit you've pulled on my watch. Like I really like that, but he's also like I think it also at the same time shows
I
his
love the
freaking
point at which you chose to deviate from the quote. That was very good. Actually, it caught me off
That
guard.
was fantastic.
oh yeah, a paraphrase. Creative liberties. I don't know, but yeah, like I thought that was because I think that really shows Iroh's care because Zuko's like, oh, Dad will understand, and I was like, buddy, you give my brother way too much credit, way too
Yes.
much credit. Like you think he's understanding and all that? I don't
It's
know,
like we
man. That
know
was
the same guy, right?
Yeah.
We've both met him, right?
Yeah,
yeah,
look, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna pretend that you don't know him. You know him quite intimately. You have a permanent remnant of your relationship with him on your face. I'm assuming you aren't forgetting things, but
yeah.
And I think that's a
Plus,
very like yeah.
I was gonna say, plus, Ira remembers the time Ozai stole his Trix yogurt. Like, he knows you can't trust Ozai. Like, he's his brother. He grew up with him. He knows what that little
Silly
shit would do.
brother. Tricks are for kids.
I'll kill you!
I love that. I love that. Yeah. And speaking of Ozai, I believe this is the first time in book one that we see his shadowy outline, right? With the fire breathing through his mouth, like it does look
We very
scary.
well might, yeah.
oh
I
yeah,
love
because
this.
it's not him directly. Yeah.
Well,
It's
I love
also
this.
like yeah.
I love this because it's like Zuko's memory of him. The last thing Zuko remembers of Ozai is having his face burned off. Of Ozai towering over him when he was 13 years old. So he only remembers his father as this like looming shadow surrounded by fire. And it's so effectively done when he sees him again in season 3. And we finally get to see Ozai's face. And the reveal is just like, oh, he's just a normal looking dude who looks exactly like Zuko. What the
Who's
heck?
weirdly hot.
Yeah, like
Just
and
a weirdly hot guy.
it's almost like Zuko's blocked it out. Like he didn't want to remember, and then he confronts his dad, and it's like, wow, he's not this fiery figure born of flames and shadow. Like it's just my dad. He looks like
I
me.
think that's such a good point you make though, because think about like when you're a kid, you think your parents are so tall and so big and so they know everything, like your perspective of your parents or the adults in your life. And then when you get older and you're a teenager, you start questioning, oh, maybe they don't really know, maybe they're not all knowing. And then you get to adulthood and you realize all adults are just kids trying to figure this out. These weren't this 10-foot tall paragon giant people. They're just people.
Yeah, I am
Yeah.
taller than both of my parents.
You're the paragon giant. I got it.
Yeah, no,
You're
you're
the
third now, I
problem.
think. Officially, that's how it works.
All right. Then Iris, you're up next.
Yeah, I think maybe like, well, aside from just the action show liker in me really appreciates that we get a little sneak peek of what a fully formed avatar can do. Like that is just like that is just like watching pro wrestling, cheering as you munch popcorn kind of like enjoyment. It's very good. Also, I love the outfit that Roku is wearing. I'm big into flowing, multi-layered outfits, and I think his is definitely my favorite so far. Aside from that, I think it's mostly just an episode that does some really good seeding and exposition. Like it's the first time that we get shown sort of Sokka's more inventor side, that he mentioned having learned his first tricks from his dad, that he is shown to have some very practical, very innovative ideas that a lot of the time just don't end up working out for him, and that doesn't make them worthless. And I think they do a really good job with all of the characters so far, but I think especially Sokka with like giving them moments that showcases a strength and a weakness of theirs at the same time. And this is definitely more strength than weakness, but it's the previous episode they had sort of the flip side of that with him just going in to help Aang and being like, yeah, no, that is a really empathetic good instinct, but also it didn't work and it got you in trouble.
Classic task failed successfully.
Yeah, exactly. I think other than that, it just, gosh, definitely to dunk more in the live action show, but man, I like good exposition. They just, both with the Zuko stuff, they gradually reveal, his history with his father. And usually you just, by this point, they haven't said the quiet part out loud. Like they haven't said, I think, out loud that his father gave him that scar. But like between Iroh telling him like, hey, you wouldn't want a repeat of the last time you went up against a master, and it just zooms in on his scar, and this time with him like, no, my father will understand, and Iroh just going, oh, you sweet summer child, oh no. And it's like it lends this element of tragedy to, or what's dramatic irony to Zuko's journey,
Yes.
where it's like you as the audience, like this is never going to work out for him. Like dad is never going to love him, but you still follow him and you're still rooting for him. And I think that's really strong. And I also think there's some really strong visual exposition with just the way that Avatar stuff works. Like in the series, I think it was Avatar Kyoshi, like explicitly tells Aang, like, no, you can do this as long as you're around a statue of mine.
Oh yeah,
And in this one,
yeah.
they just show the sun leaving, leaving the face of the statue, and that is when he turns back, and it's like, yeah, that's enough. That's how we get it.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Interesting take. Zhao was only dangerous due to the support of the Fire Lord, and it's barely anything.
I was gonna address that, but I'll wait for my turn.
Okay.
Like Zhao is very good at happening to be in the right place at the right time.
Before we move on, person joined us. Sam, hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. I'm just here to say that I think that the original Japanese version of the anime is far superior.
Get out of here, Drop Supremist.
I'm running away.
Okay.
I've actually watched the Japanese version of Avatar. I know, I've watched it in multiple languages. I actually watched the Japanese version of Avatar, and the thing that always sticks with me is Sokka's voice is very screechy. But when they get to Secret Tunnel and he has to sing, all of a sudden the voice actor playing Sokka in Japanese goes from like, being like, "Watashi wa Sokka," to suddenly being like, "Hontoni." Like he can sing, and you're like, what the hell? I just remember sitting up being like, whoa, okay. All right.
Releasing his true power.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty then. Then James.
All right, yeah. In terms of world building, one thing I always found interesting about season 1, like book 2 takes place almost exclusively in the Earth Kingdom. Book 3 takes place almost exclusively in the Fire Nation. But book 1 touches on every nation at some point. We're not even halfway through the season, and we've been to the South Pole, we've been to the Southern Air Temple, we've been to Amashu, and now Roku's temple. And we've already touched on all 4 nations, and that's just, part of me wonders if it was like a production thing, like they weren't sure if Nickelodeon would renew them, and they just wanted to make sure that they got the whole world up front just so they could have it at least in this one season. Part of me wonders if it was more intentional, like their long-term plan was to establish as much of the world as they can at the start and then build upon other parts later.
James, would you say that the real water tribe are the friends he made along the way, aka Sokka and Katara?
To answer your question, James, I think the setup for the end goal of season 1, because the end goal of season 1 is to get from literally one point of the world to its exact opposite point to the other, which is the perfect excuse to just literally visit every single piece of the world you possibly can, since you're literally traveling at the entire world's length anyway. And no matter which way you go, you're traveling an equal amount of distance either way because you're going to the opposite fucking pole. So I think it was set that way on purpose, because in book 2, it goes from needing to get to the other side of the world to just needing to get to a specific point in the Earth Kingdom, and then that specific point goal gets shifted once they actually get to their original destination, and from there it just becomes a very slow trudge because of, well, technically spoilers since we're rewatching, but everybody knows what happens when they get to the desert, so
yeah.
But I won't spoil it on the off chance somebody in the chat hasn't seen Avatar, just in case.
I do love that their in-universe sort of excuse for showing all of these places is just that Aang, or that Aang like has access to like very rare fast travel and also basically just the travel planning equivalent of ADHD.
I mean, he's a 12-year-old child who just wants to have fun and doesn't want to
I
get
feel
annoyed.
seen.
Wait.
Plus, he is the only member of the gang and one of only 2 known people in the entire world that remembered what the world was like when you could just freely travel around. I think we touched on this in the last session last week.
Yeah.
With him and Boomy. So
the Amashu episode.
And the air nomads just naturally traveled all around the world, so Aang knows all these places.
Yeah.
He just hasn't been there in 100 years.
Yeah.
It's very good.
All right. Yeah. So that's about your insights on James.
Yeah, just about.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I want to hear. So wait, Cather, do you have the ADHD or the flying bison? You kind of said same me to. It wasn't really clear.
I think you can answer that question, Curtis.
Okay, fine,
Oh my gosh,
I will.
where are you keeping him, and can I pet him?
No.
How
Cal
about this?
said-
Counterpoint. My ADHD is a flying bison.
No.
Oh,
we
there we
misheard. Cow didn't say ADHD. She said ADHB. Attention deficit bison.
Yeah, attention definite.
Attention
high-flying
deficit.
bison.
No. Attention deficit hairy bison.
There you go.
Okay, tell us about this bison.
Or
your thoughts on the episode, either one.
Oh, I was like, wait, is it my turn?
When did he come out? I didn't even know you
I
had.
was like, can I use the word in a sentence? Am I on a spelling bee? Okay, this episode, there's a lot of juicy stuff. I think a lot of it has already been touched on by other people, but I'm going to touch on it anyway because I'm obnoxious. I really like the as we mentioned, Zhao is becoming more and more threat that the audience can acknowledge. Like, to the audience, we are starting to grasp that Zhao is a contender and an obstacle for not only our gang of Aang and Sokka and Katara, but also for Zuko, like our kind of secondary, like sometimes antagonist, sometimes alternate protag, if you will. I think it's really great because we're already afraid of Zuko. We know that he's on this insistent, always trying to hunt Aang, always trying to get him. But in a way, from what we've learned about his motives, you can kind of relate. Like, you can kind of understand where he's coming from to a degree. This is just a teenage kid who wants to go home. And he has been dealt this rough hand. And he was like, if this is my way home, then I am going to see it through all the way because I want to go home. And that is a perfectly reasonable motivation that I think anyone could relate to and could justify. We do see that sometimes his methods are not ideal, but we also have Iroh with him, who has been shown to be somewhat of a voice of reason or a temperament to Zuko's out of boundsness. So while yes, Zuko and Co are an antagonizing force, we also there's a little bit of like trust the audience has in them that they're not going to necessarily go too far, at least that we've seen thus far. And then the audience has Zhao, who time and time again has shown to not maintain the same level of respect that Iroh and through Zuko exhibits. So we have this kind of a loose cannon person who also has the full scope of resources and funding and backing of the Fire Nation and is evidently pretty close with the Fire Nation because he throws, or rather the Fire Lord, he throws his name around all the time. Oh, well, your father will, oh, I spoke with your father, and man, my father will hear about this. No, your father will hear about this. I hate Zhao. So you see what he can do with the resources, because yes, we have established as some of y'all have mentioned, the Fire Nation being this superpower in terms of military strength, in terms of technology, with the boats and the engines and the all of the destructive force that they have at their command. And then we see Zhao, who has access to all of it, the manpower, the resources, all of it, to be a detrimental force, to be something to be feared and a genuine hurdle to not only Aang but to Zuko. So I think it does set up some really nice, juicy little, oh, we don't want Zuko to win, but we definitely don't want Zhao to win. We'd rather Zuko win if someone has to win. Oh, wait, what's going on? Like, it's a really fun dynamic with a lot of facets to it. I also agree, as Irish mentioned, I love Sokka's ingenuity, like his innovation getting a little spotlight. We get to see him tinkering or coming up with an unconventional solution with odds and ends and just, his own resiliency and like, we're going to figure this out. Ooh, I know an idea. I have this idea. Let's try it. That's really, really great. And I think that's a good, they do a good job of building that. So it starts small and things like this, and then that allows it to get stronger as the show progresses. And in later seasons, he has full on multi-level plans to do something super complicated and dangerous, and like the timing has to be just right. But with these stepping stone instances, that gives him the momentum for those things to pan out when it counts. And like even later on this Day of Black Sun, he's leading that whole situation. So that's really, really cool as like a stepping stone to that characterization.
Yeah.
I really love, as it was mentioned, the world building, how we get to see the Fire Nation, and I like how we get to see how the effects of imperialism and the reach of wanton imperialism, how far those claws stretch. It's not just the top dogs who are these evil or brainwashed or however you want to put it. They've sunk their teeth in deep. So now even this spiritual temple, this place that is meant to be kind of almost separate from the nation, it's not meant to answer to a king, is now at the beck and call of this corrupt institution. And so you see the one guy, Shayu, being like, this is not what we're about. And I remember, like, my grandfather before me, I know what we were supposed to do, and this is not it. And I've never had I've never had a moment where I can make a stand for this. But now that you're here, I can. This is my time, this is my moment, and I'll go down with the ship if I need to. Like, this is what I believe in, and I am willing to fight and stand up for it. Which is really cool because you see the other fire sages, even when Zhao captures them at the end, being like, "What? We didn't betray you. Oh no, we're good little lapdogs. We would never." And they're like, Zhao doesn't care. So you see how even to its own citizens, its loyalty is not rewarded because imperialism hurts everyone, from the bottom people of your own nation to everyone that you are attacking. It's not a beneficial system.
I don't know how much of this is planned out, but I also think that this is now that you mentioned that, and it's reminding me of it, like the first real instance of a bigger thing we see again throughout the Avatar cycle, which is that being the Avatar is constant work, and it's a constant uphill struggle, and it can never really be done right. And you see that in all of these like attempts at leaving lasting institutions like by the avatars and people associated with them that inevitably get corrupted or crumble or just lose relevance and just sort of fade into time. And it's they can keep trying, and they have to keep on trying, and they do, but it's also just like you're never gonna win.
I don't have a lot to add because everyone's covered a lot of the
Oh,
great shit.
I still had more things if that's okay.
I do want to say one thing real quick, and then I'll
Yeah.
give it back to you. So Zuko showing up at the fire stages. Anyone notice that the fire stages did not react to Zuko the way most Fire Nation people do? Like they were pretty chill, even though they know he's not supposed to be there. This is explained in something that was cut from the show for time, but was put into the prequel manga. So check
Yeah.
out episode 4, the book 4 restoration project. So you can see
Yeah.
how Zuko met the fire sages, including Shayu, and how all of that went. Anyway, go ahead, Kylie, go ahead. I just had to plug that.
No, you raised an excellent point. I appreciate that.
Never
Definitely check
apologize
us
for
out.
selling out. Never apologize for selling out.
What I was gonna say is, what was I saying? Oh, the fire sages. So yeah, even the spiritual temper is not exempt from feeling the detrimental effects of being under imperialism. And you see how like the propaganda has like how far it goes. And even though it's not a good system that even their own citizens are in fear, they are still unwilling to let go of that propaganda, of that narrative that they have been fed this whole time for, the last 100 years. I also really appreciate, as I think Iris and some of you also mentioned, meeting Roku, hearing the way Roku speaks. And as objectively AJ mentioned, like the first, Shayu was the first, sorry, I'm jumping around, was the first like Fire Nation person we see that is not, indoctrinated to the full extent, is not, evil, has good intentions, has a good heart, and can choose another way. And I think, as some of you mentioned, it's a really cool moment because you learn that it's not like not everyone is, evil from a choice of I'm going to choose to be evil. They are a product of their situation. They are a product of the nation that has raised them. But there is still room. Like it's not like a hopeless, oh, everyone has been indoctrinated, so that means the whole nation is corrupt and there's no hope for redemption in any way, shape, or form. And you see that in Shayu, that's not the case. There is wiggle room. There is room for pause to consider and to look at the facts and to choose another way. And then I like that we get to meet Roku because that's another example of a good-hearted Fire Nation person. It's not that this nation is inherently evil. It is that the last 100 years under corrupt leadership, without the Avatar to come in and intercede on behalf of balance, has led to this horrible, like the scales have been tipped, and as they should not be. It has disrupted the balance, and it has led to a horrible state of the world. But you get to see Roku being sweet, grandfatherly, as it was mentioned, and being that nurturing mentor for Aang. Like, yes, having to tell him the harsh realities of like, dude, this is your timeline. Now you are aware, which from a writer's perspective, I love that, setting up the whole shebang. It gives you a very concrete, like, here's the end goal, here's where we need to be, these are the stakes. Let's start this speed run. But also like being that source of comfort in like you are not alone in this being the Avatar thing. You have all of your past lives behind you. We are here with you. Like you're not just wandering alone in the dark. So I think that's just really, really sweet. And yeah, I could talk forever, but I love the characterization. I love that you see Zhao kind of getting his just desserts of being like, oh, I'll get both Zuko and the Avatar. Mwahahaha. They'll defeat each other, and then I'll reap all the rewards, and I'm amazing. except you're not, because I'm Zhao. And like you gets that moment of like you tried to have it all and you weren't qualified to have any of it, and you got zipped to get out of it. You also see him taking out that anger on the innocent quote unquote fire sages, the ones who weren't betraying, the fire lord. They're like, we didn't do anything. And Zhao doesn't care because Zhao is not a competent person. He will step on anyone to get where he wants to go, and he will take out his anger on anyone when it doesn't go his way. And that's like the mark of a bad leader. That is someone who should not be in a position of power. And that's also a reflection of the state of the Fire Nation at this point in time. I will shut up now. Thank you so much.
You said it best though with that last line, Cal. He's a trifling asshole.
All right.
He's just very much that sort of strongman that, fascist governments tend
Exactly.
to keep promoting even when they're not good at anything because they're just strongmen. And I mean, Zhao is a decent firebender, but he got his butt beat by his 16-year-old Zuko who's still working on the basics. So I gotta say, like...
Right. You compensating for something, Zhao?
We all know it.
Really
I
is.
remember some friends of mine being like, how did Zhao get promoted like 3 times in the show when he was only in 1 season? And we're like, he was doing something for Ozai. I don't know. I'll leave it to your imagination. Like...
I feel like we had a call about that like a year and a half ago. I was at work. I remember this.
Just Zhao going like he may be your father, but he's my daddy.
It's not gay when it's the Fire Lord. It's patriotism. It is patriotism. How dare you?
Lucia, you're lucky that you're the last person. I literally have no one else to move it on to.
Hey, what the fuck?
Whoa.
Is this because I denied you the girl club?
Hold on.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to use my time to say something very important.
Yes.
Okay. It's my time. I have the floor.
Yes.
Cade, I have something to say to you.
What is that, Lucia?
Deception, disgrace,
Evil
as plain as the scar on his face. Wow, you even did the harmony, Cal. How'd you know?
This is my Lion King 2 is my jam. I watched it every single day after pre-K when I was growing up.
See you later. It's the banishment song from Lion King 2.
Deception and outrage.
Disgrace for shame.
Yes, for trouble the moment.
See you later, agitator. You can tell Cal and I watched
I've never seen Lion King 2.
Lion King 2 is my absolute shit, and I will banish you if you don't get on board.
Not only am I singing, in a different stream, someone paid us a super chat to have me sing Poor Unfortunate Souls and improvise the lyrics to be Poor Incompetent Souls as ATLA.
You are amazing
Well,
at
And I
improvising.
did.
I feel like
super
that,
chat.
that you did that on the fly.
Oh god, I was so nervous.
I feel like the
You killed
improvising
it.
lyrics
Right,
thing
right back.
was your personal decision.
It was my personal decision.
You're not wrong.
Super chatted it. I wasn't doing that for free. I would have taken time to write lyrics first if they hadn't paid me money.
Speaking of
Daddy arrived!
Hey, I made it.
Yay.
Welcome, Jacob Dillon, voice of Ozai.
Yes, indeed.
We were just banishing Cade with the Lion King song.
Oh.
He is not one of us.
He will never be one of us.
Anyway, Banished Boy, do you have anything to say before we go to the next episode?
Maybe 1 or 2 things.
What is it?
I was going to talk about Zhao a little bit, but then you said everything I would have said anyway, so I guess I'll just move on to one thing. I have just a little teeny tiny thing to say, which it's good I went last because it's about to derail this entire conversation.
Oh no.
Oh no.
This episode is the first appearance of lava bending.
Oh, here we go.
I was
And
gonna.
for you in the audience, you may be wondering why that's such a big deal. Well, anybody who knows Lucia would know that in the Legend of Korra, she has a very huge bone to pick with something that happens in book 2.
Rava and Vatu, yeah.
Rava
I have a
and
lot
Vatu.
of bones to pick with that.
So,
but Cade's white whale.
What does that have to do with the...
He's bringing out that
Raw
he's
and
saying
Vatu.
that just like that's my thing that I take offense to. Cade's bone to pick is with lava bending.
Thank you for literally stealing my thunder. Thank you,
I'm
Azula.
translating.
Of
Ah,
course,
it's in her
Dad
nature.
decorated-
All right,
Of
let's-
course, Dad had to interrupt me to let Azula take it.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Azula,
Well,
explain.
technically, it was still underground when he banded, so that would be magma banding.
Yeah, there you go. You're
All
right.
right.
Iris is technically correct. The best kind of correct.
Okay,
That's
let's
kinda
hear this
correct.
point.
Anyway. So, this is the first instance of lava / technically magma bending when Roku melts the metal floor instantly and then bends the lava up to destroy the island. I have a huge ass bone to pick with the way lava bending gets
Why an
treated
ass
in
bone?
the future.
Yeah, why an
Particular.
ass
Like,
bone?
why the ass bone in particular?
Dad, interrupt me one more time and I'm not giving you lunch.
Kate's gonna
Tell them.
slam
The end of
Nero's
conversation.
On you, I already had lunch.
And I won't give you dinner.
I'm having dinner now.
Dad, I will cancel your Grinder subscription.
Oh my god.
Oh no, now I have a little
Please,
new
you guys,
cow
you don't
again.
have
Wow is gonna be very upset about that.
Cancel
yeah.
yours.
Anyway,
Anyway, to get my point done.
the lore
Yes.
for lava bending has changed multiple times, is what you're saying.
Yes, the lore for lava bending in the original show is kept very consistent. Only avatars are ever seen doing it because what is magma / lava? It's just superheated rock. So it makes sense that while an earthbender could bend it on their own, you'd effectively need both an earth and firebender to bend it safely. And
That was the original
plus,
lore.
yeah,
That
that was
only
the
the
original lore.
avatar could bend lava because you had to have both earth and fire bending.
And
That was
on
the
top of
original
it,
lore. Yeah.
At no point could anybody ever turn rock into lava. Now, I could go on a whole ass tangent about that, but
Oh no.
we do need to get to the... Stop saying "oh no," Curtis.
Well, I've only seen the first season of Korra. When you
The
said that, I was just like,
inconsistency.
oh,
The inconsistency bothers you. I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm
Okay,
literally
I
gonna put that on the
understand.
back burner so that we can move on to the next episode.
Alrighty.
No,
then,
I
yeah.
understand. I get it. I get what
Yeah,
you're saying.
because I was about to say you joined us, but you didn't watch the episode, so I assume you'll be joining us for the next one then, Jacob.
Can I just point out
I
the
guess
action
so.
in this episode is so good, and it makes me really sad that we didn't get any action sequences as good as this in the live action. Imagine
Yeah.
if they had done something like
Yes,
Oh.
literally, and the choreography, the
Yeah.
cinematography, it's beautiful.
this.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's the thing about
Or-
animation. It tends, like, especially with things like this, it tends to lend itself more naturally.
Yeah,
the
but I think a
animation
stylized
thing.
director could have done it. They could have even brought back Dave Filoni. I mean, he
Yeah.
worked on this season. Or Giancarlo Volpe's probably not that busy, and he's worked
I
for
do
live
not
action and
disagree.
animation.
Heck,
But I
look at-
think the biggest thing with the live action is they were limited. If you notice, a lot of their backgrounds are green screens or LED, whatever they call them, which means the actors have limited range of movement. You can't move more than 5 feet if the green screen is out. I think that
yeah.
was the biggest limitation. It's not money. They had a ton of money. It was time. Because of the crunch they were doing this on, there was not time to build all the sets. That's why the Kyoshi episode looks so much better, because those are actual sets. But later on, everything looks kind of green screeny, and people can't move as much or do as complicated choreography. They're very limited in range. And
Because I
I
know
think
people
that's definitely a time issue rather than
because
a
I
money
know
issue.
people meme on it, but a very nice example is just look at the fight scenes in the Star Wars prequels. Those are very anime heavy with the way those people out and swing their blades and everything.
Well, like I said, I think this was just a matter of time. They did not have time to fully construct these sets. They had very limited green screen, clearly, which limited their movement, or whatever they call it, like LED walls. It's basically a fancy version of the
Oh
same.
well.
Last thing, poor Roku. Natla took that scene from him and gave it to Kyoshi instead. Poor Roku.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They did
Right.
Roku dirty.
Annoys me.
Shall I get the
Alrighty
next
then.
episode pulled up?
Yes,
Yeah.
our good chatters. We will see you
They
on
did-
the other side.
We
I
will
feel like
see
they
you
did
on-
Roku dirty in the live
I
action.
agree.
Yeah.
They really did. They
All
really did.
right, here we go.
All right.
And we are back after watching the episode.
I get it. Pirates
So,
of the
true story, that parrot thing that fights Momo is a reference to the fact that originally Zuko was supposed to have a pet messenger hawk that was going to have a rivalry with Momo.
Wasn't that in the pilot episode?
Yep, it was in the pilot, and originally it was going to be a thing, but they ended up cutting it from the actual show, which is why for book 4, tune into the search and see what we do with that little tidbit of trivia. Maybe someone's getting a pet messenger hawk.
Aang. So
Wait,
you can have
actually-
2 pits.
It's not Aang.
Check out how this book 4 member got a pet. The result will shock you.
I love how optimistic Iroh is that he was like, "You're gonna laugh, Zuko. I had it all along," as if he doesn't know perfectly well. Zuko only has 2 emotions: rage and sadness. Like, that's all
He was trying to gaslight him. Just like, yes, this is funny. You are going to laugh.
All
He
right.
is searching for the
May
mysterious
I
stone.
Face when he's holding that tile.
May I request that I go first for this one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, on one condition.
What's that?
I have to expose you.
Expose me for what?
You forgot how we forgot to mute, and we could hear you all quoting Zuko's lines.
Yeah,
in the
I know.
episode.
I know you can.
That was
Hey,
funny though.
It was fun. It just shows your dedication to the role. Kate,
Yeah,
we appreciate
commitment
it.
always
Now,
100.
Yeah, in Cade's defense, I did tell all the voice actors to practice the character speech patterns again before the search, since it's been a while. And Cade is very diligently practicing the speech patterns, and he does a very good job.
Now
Yes,
we had some audio.
I haven't been able to because no Ozai yet.
Oh,
That's true.
That's true. Zilla's got
Although
it
you're pretty
sad.
spot on. I recently saw 2 comments back to back on the channel where someone was like, "Oh my gosh, that Iroh though," and someone else was like, "Ozai is amazing," and I screenshotted both of them back to back and I put them up on the server, being like, "The duality of fan. Choose your side."
Also,
Two brothers in a van.
In a
A
van.
meteor hit.
Oh
It's
no.
just 2 brothers.
Also, oh no. Our viewers know that Zuko practices his talents. What-
Cade, it's okay.
Heaven
Go ahead.
forbid.
Dun dun dun.
Wait, you
Okay,
guys
okay.
practice?
Yeah.
We can't all be as talented as James.
Not me. This is actually my real voice. The Lucia voice is the fake one I put on to come off normal.
She's not even
It's true.
lying.
She's
when
catfished me
she-
for years.
She's not even lying. When she
You know,
was
I
young,
actually believe that.
she's not even lying. When she was young, she had to be told to enunciate less.
Mm.
I'm not making that up.
All right, thoughts on the
Interesting.
episode.
Okay,
Cade,
okay.
go.
Yes.
Top of the
Believe
page.
that.
Yes. So I find it very interesting that this is the one episode where Zuko tries his damnedest to act like his sister.
Hmm.
He's like thinking through of where his enemies are gonna be. He's trying his best to emotionally manipulate people into giving him what he wants, and the only reason it falls flat is not actually because Zuko gives into his anger and just gives up on it. No, it's because he didn't think of the fact that pirates will inevitably betray him for a larger sum for a larger sum reward.
He
Unlike
forgot
his
about
sister, he
that.
didn't think all the way through.
He forgot about that part, didn't he?
Like, he tries to emotionally manipulate Katara into being like, look, I'm not as bad as you think I am. I just really need to get the Avatar. I think you can understand that. The pirates, he like, look, if you don't listen to me, I'm gonna burn the only thing you care about right now.
I do like that implies Zuko's frame of reference is just like, I need to be strong, assertive, and get what I want no matter what, like a girl.
Well, like his sister, and also by extension,
Yeah,
his
no,
dad.
because that's like his whole frame of reference. I just
His whole frame
I
of
like
reference
that.
is
I
his
think it's
sister and his
charming.
dad, yeah. Other than that, I really like this episode. There's not really a whole lot to speak about it unless you want to talk about
It's a fun episode.
Katara and Zuko, and I say that with a lot of appreciation and a little bit of, oh, this is where a certain thing happened and the fandom was never once again the same. And it can all be summed up in one line. I'll save you from the pirates.
It's true. Fan fictions were being written from that very moment.
But I don't want to go any further down that very steamy rabbit hole.
Mm.
Oh no. Oh, I'm phrasing.
Well, yeah,
Can
because
I-
water and fire make steam.
This is true. Can I cut in line after Cade if that's okay? Because I have to go soon.
Oh, yes,
Go ahead. I'm
yes.
basically done. Go, Cow.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't. I'm done.
Okay, you're sure. I have thoughts. One, freaking pirates! Hell yeah, brother. Two, I really like the characterization that this episode provides for Katara. I think it's really cool because you get to get a glimpse into not only waterbending as a concept in general, like they get more in depth about it, but you also get to witness Katara's personal experience and expertise in that matter, and how she's really excited to share that with Aang. But then when she feels like her role in that is being undermined, you see how that frustration gets to her. And that frustration, I think, stems from not just, oh, somebody being better at something than I am, but her having such a limited limited resources in terms of learning about waterbending. She was the only waterbender left in her tribe, and everything she learned was through hard-won patience and diligence and trying and trial and error and just, let me try this, let me apply this thing. Oh, that worked kind of last time, let me mess with this. And just a lot of grinding. And so for our sweet pop up in here and just right off the bat be getting it, even in some ways helping Katara with a move that she was trying to teach him, that felt like a big old slap in the face. And I think that's a nice job of showing how even our most wholesome or most kind-hearted or sweet characters, I said hearted weird, how they can still have flaws and not be these perfect saints of individuals, and that all of these guys, they're kids, they're still making mistakes. And I think it's powerful when they let that immaturity shine through, because so much of what they're dealing with is of a mature level, is of something that even adults would struggle to handle, and these kids
Yes.
are rolling with the punches. So I think that's really necessary to not only show kids goofing off, like Sokka getting splashed and being grumbly about it, and them actually working on the craft of, trying to be better waterbenders, but seeing how Katara handles when it's not going ideally, because she is, as I mentioned before, this pillar of support, this emotional strength of the group, this heart of the group. But then she does have her moments of frustration, of pushing out. And you see when even Sokka was like, "Oh damn, girl," and you can see it on Aang's face, like he, like, this is a person who always has his back. This is the person who caters for his emotional needs. This is the person who, like, he knows is gonna comfort him. And to have that person scream in his face,
Yeah.
that was hurtful. That, like, I felt that. I was like, dang, me too, Aang, me too. But also, like, Katara, because she is bearing so much of the emotional load of the group, like, I think it's perfectly justified to have that moment of being under pressure or to not take something smoothly and maturely, because she's also a kid. So
Yeah,
I just think that was really great for her
she's
characterization.
gonna have
That
her
they,
moments like that. She's
right,
still just a teenager. She's not perfect.
literally. And I think she has a lot of feelings wrapped up in her bending, from being the only waterbender left in her tribe to being the only bender, being the reason why she lost her mother, and then to have worked so hard to get even as far as she has with it. uh, it makes sense that there's definitely an emotional, visceral response when that doesn't pan out exactly. And that also informs her motivations for stealing from the pirates. Because stealing seems very out of character for her. She's very much our goody two shoes, moral compass of the group, which, yes, Aang also, but Aang gets a little bit of goofball in him that sometimes leads him astray.
She has her
Katara tends to,
justification for it, right?
yeah, and so Katara to be like, I feel like as the audience we're kind of like, oh dang, Katara, we know you were like that, okay,
Dang, girl.
right? Shoot, you dabble in some crimes, okay. But like we see the reason why, and I think it's interesting that we have this, our moral heart of the group have that justification of, well, it's okay to steal from pirates, like almost like she's justifying that to herself, which I think was a nice little tidbit. Plus, it's just cool. Pirates are just cool, man. Pirates are freaking cool.
Yeah.
And I just like how it shows different types of characters, because you have all of the people of different nations, but then you have this group of pirates. It's a very ragtag mix of group, unsavory characters from all walks of life. And I just think that's like just a very interesting set of characters to present us with. And it's been said before, but I really love how all of the background characters in ATLA feel very real, feel very authentic. They're very multi-layered, very varied. Like as you're walking into that kind of marketplace scene, all the shops in the background, all the different vendors calling things out. The guy who was like, "Who will dare look in my bag?" Like it's fun and it's interesting and it just really fleshes out the world so much. It makes it feel like it's a place you want to visit and want to explore. It gets you excited for what else you're going to learn about this environment. Um, Also, I love Iroh being like, "Let's go shopping. We need all these things." Oh, but of course we need this. It's for music night on the ship. Oh, I definitely needed that. And it's fun how even though the paths were motivated by different things, Iroh and Zuko, and then the gang's path intercept, despite not going there for the same reasons. Like, yes, they're hunting them, but going into that pirate shop was complete happenstance. Like, it was complete, just a circumstantial whim. But that kind of shows like how the threads of fate are always intertwined. So that's just really cool. And I mentioned it in chat, but I really like how when they, I'm trying to be concise, when they steal the ship from the pirates, and Aang is like, oh, can't you make this go any faster? And Sokka's like, this wasn't made by the Water Tribe, bro. What the heck am I supposed to do? I'm trying. I like that tidbit. Not only does it feel very realistic, it makes perfect sense, it makes logical sense, and it doesn't feel like a glaring plot hole that, yeah, we might be forgiving of. There's a lot of plot that we take in stride, and that's fine. But I like the fact that he wasn't just, oh, this is similar to a Water Nation ship, I can definitely figure this out. I like that it was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just a kid, and I have a very limited experience with the world outside of my tribe. So I like that tidbit. I think it was very very well written, even though it was such a minor little detail.
I get that part. I'm gonna just take care of that and let y'all handle the rest.
Right. And I like the small snippet we get to see of sorry, I'm wrapping up, I'm so sorry. We get to see of Zuko kind of leaning into his villain arc, so to speak, being like, how am I going to get what I need out of this? How am I going to manipulate this thing? And finding out what buttons are effective. Like, yes, it's a very limited. I'm sorry, James, I'll try. He told me apologizing. And I apologize in response. So I like that we get to see him kind of like figuring out, one, it's him learning about the gang in general and Katara being like, what buttons are going to work? What is my angle here? Is there an opening to manipulate them? Like, where is the weak link? And he doesn't find it really. He finds out that like, no, like that method, that avenue is not an in for me. That's not gonna pan out. Time to try something different. I also like how, sorry, I'm trying to go through my things real fast. I'm so sorry. Last thing. I like how in the big cloud of smoke, when everyone's fighting everyone and it's real pandemonium chaos vibes, I like how Aang is able to dodge all of those things. So like, it's so narrow how he dodges them, but it's almost perfect. Like, it cuts his binds. He dodges that. He does that. And I was like, how is he doing that? Oh, he's an airbender. Obviously, he's going to be naturally sensitive to not only the air, like vibrations in it, and then also just the comedic gag of, hey, Sokka, where are you? Marco Polo. Oh, I know. Let me just clear this out of the psych. And that was beautiful and hilarious and a great time. Last little thing, and then I'll stop.
Just 1/16 Looney Tunes character.
He is, and I love him. I respect the hell out of him for it. My last little thing, and then I promise I'll be quiet. I like how at the end we got a little minor apology, like makeup between Aang and Katara when they work together to release the ship. Like, oh, 2 waterbenders, and it's a very cute, cartoony. This is the moral. We're all friends. Friendship prevails. Like, that's really nice. But I really appreciate the fact that after all of the shit hitting the fan, immediate problems were dealt with, Katara still had the emotional maturity to be like, I know we're all good, but I need to address how I messed up so that he knows it's not going to happen again. I understand where I was wrong. And I just think like that, showing that moment of a character, even though they didn't need to, taking the time to clearly and really apologize to the wronged parties is really, really important. And I think it speaks volumes to who Katara is as a character. And I think it's also just really important for the audience, especially kids, to see that, yeah, you can mess up and yeah, things can be better, but it still goes a long way to take the time to acknowledge your mistakes and apologize officially so that you know that the people you have hurt understand that you didn't mean it and it's not going to happen again. It's not some recurring issue that's being brushed under the rug. So I really, really appreciate that. All's well that ends well. I love the gang. I love pirates.
Go Pirates!
Watch book 4 air.
Watch book 4 air!
Thank you.
Good,
Sorry for
good,
hogging
yeah.
the floor. Thank you so much.
Just cow, not just don't finish off by apologizing once. Challenge.
I'm gonna actually get.
I'm trying.
No, because you think you hog it. I'm gonna get a timer next time. I'm gonna see who actually hogs it. Because spoiler, I don't think it's you actually. But anyways,
it probably isn't.
Yeah, taking a moment real quick. Just also checking in chat. I just have to point out the one that says humanity is. From Talon. Wait, what was that saying? Humanity is very down bad and turned on by very bad things in reference to Zutara. Oh boy,
man, you could say that again.
We're not kink shaming. We're kink asking why.
Oh, hi.
Yes, introduce yourself to the class, Ryoma.
Hi, Ryoma.
It seems like I've been introduced already. Hi, I'm the voice of Aang and the showrunner of Book 4. Hello. It's been
Yay.
some time.
I'm
Also,
sorry.
best boy Rio.
That is
That is an exaggeration, but I'll accept the compliment anyway.
You
It
are
is
at least in the
exceedingly
running.
accurate.
You are at least in the running. That is factual.
Whatever.
Okay. I was about to say, see, that's the thing. I'm the one who says, I would like to introduce this person, and then I introduce them before they get a chance to introduce yourself. So, anyways, so yeah, go through here. I'm just going to direct this to the people who haven't shared an opinion yet for these episodes. Zilla, actually, Jacob.
Yeah.
You go
Speak
first.
about the pirates. Any pirate thoughts?
So here I am. Here I am remembering that they didn't appear once after, or season 1, like episode 18.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they were never heard of again. Why? Well, actually, they were mentioned in the Ember Island players, but they were
Yeah.
never seen again.
I do like that they alluded though. That's a nice little tidbit. Like if you're paying attention, you know exactly what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should I
I
answer
think,
this?
I think I like the pirates. I think this was a fun episode.
Yeah,
Also-
definitely fun one.
Yeah.
Also Jack Angel,
Jack Angel is
That's the-
amazing in here.
pirate
That's
captain.
who? Who's that?
He was in the G1 Transformers.
Huh, okay.
I didn't
That's
know
why
he
I
was
know.
in this. Huh.
Yeah, he was the pirate captain.
Who does he play in Transformers G1?
He played a number of roles. Hold on. Ultra Magnus.
Ah.
Magnus!
Supreme,
Oh my god.
Omega Supreme.
Ultra
Ultra
Brandon.
Brandon!
Astro Train. I got the.
Tank A Team says, when y'all dropping the other comic books for the Avatar? We actually never stop working on them. The show takes a long time to do because we not only voice act, we not only do our own audio mixing, we reorchestrate and sometimes often compose original music. Oftentimes we make original and additional art or art edits. It takes a long time, especially because we refuse to use AI, generative AI. We do it ourselves. So it takes a while.
There's a lot of work going into this.
Yeah.
A
A lot of different steps.
Yes,
a lot of
and
work and money.
Yeah, and it's worth noting. So, we'll be having a video that posts out tomorrow. The Valentine's video will finally be coming out. But after that, you'll start seeing more of the actual clips and previews of the next episode at that point.
We are working on episode 5, which will be coming out, as soon as it's ready. And after that, we'll be going into the search. And our version of the search has some additional scenes and content that's never before been seen, including we added Toph into the story.
Toph is there.
Hell yeah,
Love
we
the
did.
adventure.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes,
Part of our little
You
life-changing-
can find a preview of that on this channel.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
you. Y'all have the best videos. Thank you so much.
Thank
Aw,
you.
Thanks so
that's
much.
so sweet.
Something I think some people in chat were pointing out about this last episode, the waterbending scroll, and I agree with, is a lot of people think that Zuko was never bad or never actually meant the bad things he did. And I think that's really not fair. The power of Zuko's redemption is specifically because he did do those bad things. And in this episode, we actually see him acting an awful lot like his dad, an awful lot like Azula. He's being very manipulative, very threatening, letting implication do the heavy lifting for him. I mean, Katara's actually in a
regardless of-
terrifying situation.
Yeah.
when he did that.
Regardless of whether or not he wanted to do it, he still did it.
He still did it. Well, and honestly, we find out at the end of the show that Azula didn't want to do it either. I mean, she has a whole mental breakdown about it, right? And she's
Right.
like,
And I think
what choice do I
it's
have?
it's because in the context of their motivations, all of their actions seem perfectly justified. Does not seem like, oh, I'm going too far. Oh, I'm doing these evil things. To them, it's a means to an end, and they've never been taught that that's not an okay thing.
Something I think that's very interesting is that Zuko here. I mean, Katara's really in a harrowing situation. She can't really bend to defend herself yet. She's not at that point. She is alone. She is surrounded by not only Zuko and Iroh, and keep in mind she has trauma about
firebenders because she saw her mother get dragged out and killed by,
Mm.
a firebender when she was very young. So she knows the
Mhm.
danger, and this must be bringing that back up to her. And he's using her mother's necklace, and the implication of, you won't get it back if you don't give me what I want. And then there's also all the pirates, which we know mean her harm because of what she's done. That's really scary.
Mm.
And I think that sometimes we get so caught up in our shipping jokes about like, "Ooh, I'll save you from the pirates," and we forget that the actual context of the scene is actually pretty terrifying, and it's one of the most like intense moments we see from Zuko of what he's really capable of. And I
Mm.
think a lot of the time people assume that Zuko's too tender-hearted. No, he's just not as competent. If Zuko was as competent as Ozai and Azula at doing these things, he would do them. That is how devoted he is to fulfilling this role. And I
Yeah.
think it's important to mention that from the way these kids have been raised, this is the right thing to do.
Mm.
This is what they've been taught. This is the role they're supposed to play. That in fact, Zuko feels great shame and feels dishonored for what he thinks is weakness. And this is something we see reflected with Azula. Anytime she has vulnerability, what does she do? She hides it. She makes a flippant joke or something, even when it's her own trauma. So it's not that these kids aren't damaged by the evil things they're being asked to do. It's that they've been told that is the right way to be, and failure to be so, that is the weakness. That is the moral failing. And we see this with May and Ty Lee too. What does May do? She represses herself so that her dad can have a political career. What does Ty Lee do? She's part of an identical set, and this became so stifling to her that she ran away to join the circus. And what does Azula do? As a true believer, she brings Ty Lee back into the fold, back into line. Play your role. And in a weird way, that's kind of an expression of caring about someone rather than letting them, suffer the consequences of not fulfilling your role in the Fire Nation. Azula, if by force, if necessary, she will make you fulfill the role. And she does the same thing to Zuko. Come home. Let me help you. I will advocate for you, but you need to fulfill your role as prince. Need to do it right. And when does she turn on him? When he lies to her, when he betrays them, when he snitches on her. It's very much about fulfilling the roles that you're expected to fill. And I think sometimes we get so caught up in our own perspective of our own culture that we want to think of it as Zuko was just too tender-hearted and Azula was evil and she thrived. When in reality, it's a lot more complicated than that. And no one demonstrates that more than Iroh.
Wait,
Here in this episode.
sorry, just a moment. You said when you're saying he tattled on her. Was that when he was confronting Ozai and
Yeah.
Day of Black Sun? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was very cathartic, and I fully get why he did it. But I imagine from Azula's perspective, it wouldn't have felt as nice as it did for Zuko or the audience.
Because he
right?
didn't need to rat out Azula.
I don't want to blame him. I get why he did. I get why he did. I imagine from Azula's perspective, she's not going to get why he did that because she kept
Bro, what the heck?
She never told Ozai that he was visiting Iroh because remember, Ozai was surprised. So then Zuko goes and snitches on her. I'm sure she was not happy. But I think Iroh demonstrates this best of all. Like when he was Dragon of the West, he was a brutal person. Remember how those Earth Kingdom people viewed him? And we see him here as this like jolly, silly person distracting Zuko with tiles and shopping. And I think it really, really shows that this is a man who knows what he did, has seen through the lies of the Jedi, so to speak, right? And he feels penitent. He doesn't want to be part of that world. He's exhausted by all this. He wants an escape, and he wants Zuko to see there's more to life than this expectation and this role that is going to consume him. And Zuko's just not ready to hear it, which is, he literally throws the White Lotus tile into the river, which I think is, if they didn't plan that and that came later, it would still a really great foreshadowing of Zuko rejecting and throwing the White Lotus into the river, and he will later betray Iroh. So anyway,
at that point, yeah, Iroh, he like before the events of this series, he did some messed up things as a general.
Yeah.
Once he lost his son, that was kind of a wake up call. Like
Pretty much.
And something to keep in mind, unlike a lot of people, Iroh doesn't have the excuse of saying, like how the live action tried to do it, of saying he was just a guy following orders. No, this man is most likely the second most powerful person in the entire Fire Nation.
He was, yeah. Not anymore, but he was.
Crown Prince and Dragon of the West.
And his father's favorite.
Yeah.
He was the Azula of his time. He really was.
You know what I think is the weirdest thing about Iroh, though? Is that every single member, I mean, obviously, because it's worth knowing of how, like, the Iroh we see is very recent. Unless I have things understood, just by simply existing, every single, like, member of the gang has been quote unquote a good person longer than Iroh has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Iroh
Ozai's
has
only
been
been
6
on.
years, right?
Yeah, Ozai's only been on the throne for 6 years, so Luten couldn't have died more than 6 years ago, really.
And
Yeah.
even right now in early book 1, if you really stop to think about it, Iroh's not really trying to stop Zuko. He's just trying to get him
Yeah.
to chill out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All he cares about is taking care of his nephew. He doesn't care about the war. He doesn't care about peace. All he can focus on is caring for this boy the way he was unable to care for Luten. And
Yeah.
maybe unable to care for Ozai in a way when
Yeah.
Ozai was still
So,
young and
so this
vulnerable.
represented
Right.
salvation for him.
Yeah. Salvation through helping another, right?
It's
Yeah.
not really until
Right.
the finale where Iroh kind of takes a more active role and be like, maybe we shouldn't be doing
Well,
that.
I think
Right.
that's because of
Actually,
Aang.
this is getting out of hand.
Aang inspires a lot of people. He inspires the Kyoshi warriors to join the war effort. And I think when Iroh sees what he sees at the North, it inspires him to care again. And that's why in book 2,
And
he's
to
actively trying to change Zuko instead of just kind of being like, I'll have some
and
tea.
and
You
to
know?
ch- and to
Right.
just
I
and
know just
actively
how
he
it is.
he just denounced his Fire Nation
Yeah.
Lineage.
Yeah.
Heritage.
And cutting off
Indoctrination.
he cuts off his top knot. He
Yeah.
rejects his Fire Nation titles, his every bit of
Legacy?
privilege he would have had, his legacy. Yeah, he rejects it all. That's actually a detail I kind of was sad. The live action didn't have everyone in the Fire Nation court with top knots, which I think takes
Right.
away from how impactful it is that Zuko and Iroh cut theirs off. I really wish everyone in the live action Fire Nation council had top knots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I chime in with one thing and then I do have to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
Of course.
Something. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I'll be short. One thing that you mentioned about how Zuko was really, really doing evil stuff and wasn't just a softie from the jump. I think the fact that and it was such a scary moment for Azula, or not Azula, sorry, for Katara, this whole threatening thing, and there's pirates here, and like, you do what I say or you won't get your mother's necklace back. All of the terrifying elements of that. I think that further informs how later on, when Katara is willing to put that aside and vouch for you and like join us, come with us, enough of this, like that level of forgiveness, and why when it's thrown back in her face, why her vehemence later on when he eventually does join the gang is so severe and so almost like with a nasty tone to it. It's because she put all of that aside and she's had probably the most one-on-one scary negative interactions with Zuko. For her to put that aside and extend the olive branch and then have it thrown back in her face and then have Aang at death's door, all of those moments from later on, that totally informs why she was like, no, you've had your chance. You had a chance that you didn't even deserve. And I'm out of chances. So I just wanted
She's
to
she's
harp
only
on that.
going along because as Aang.
Right.
Yeah.
She was like, I'll let you be here, but one foot at a line, and like I'm not letting you kill him again. Like that's not happening.
She threatened to murk him if he
She did.
went out
She was
She did.
not playing
if he went
games.
back on his word.
Permanently.
And it's
Permanently.
a good thing Zuko mended
Work
that
him
bridge
forever.
before the stunt he pulls in the first part of Sozin's Comet.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Hold on, what?
Remember
Oh,
how
oh,
in
that.
Sozin's Comet
Oh, yeah,
part
that.
1 where Zuko just goes haywire on Aang for being lazy?
Yeah.
And Sokka's like, oh no, he went crazy. He destroyed my sculpture of Suki. Oh yeah, and he's after Aang.
But I digress. We should get back on topic.
Yes, I have to go though. Thank you guys so much. Please enjoy the rest of the stream.
Thank you for being here, Cal.
Thanks, Cal.
Always
Take
great to
care.
have you.
Yeah,
Always
have a
good to
good
hear all
one,
of your
Cal.
thoughts.
Thank you. I love you guys.
Now, no apologizing.
Thank you. I'm not apologizing. I'm thanking. Thank you.
I'm watching you.
She said with tears in her eyes. I love you guys. Good night.
Good night. All right.
One thing I also wanted to say.
Oh, continue. Yeah, because
like also going to why Katara when Zuko actually did join the gang, why she was so like a fuck up and you die, like that's like because Aang literally died in the the last time he went against.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it wasn't by his hand, but still, his actions were contributor to that.
Yeah.
I mean, if not for that spirit water or that Katara had, they're like the Avatar cycle would be gone. The Avatar would be gone, done,
Yeah.
Dunzo forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's
All right. Yeah. That's probably why she was like that.
And
100%.
Gamer Ozai unlocks Xbox achievement. Avatar cycle ended.
that's
You know, we've joked about the gamer Ozai so much, but legit, Iroh was the actual gamer in this episode.
He really is.
Just Azula destroys the reincarnation cycle, somehow gets like her KDA upped by 2,000 in just one shot.
They up the gamer lord or stick in the live action.
Also, can I just say how realistic I love the sibling writing in this episode, where like Katara's being very responsible in a lot of ways, and she usually is, and Sokka's being a clown. But then Sokka's the one that's like, stealing that endangered us, and then Katara, you really should apologize. And it's this kind of like,
you know, where
she knows he's right, but
he has a point, but he's also being a petty bitch about it.
Yeah, he's being petty about it.
Katara's not the only one who has bending envy in this episode.
Yeah.
It is constantly being like, "Oh, I'm being left out." Like, I know it's necessary to save the world, but also I'm not gonna be nice about it.
It is the most sibling thing when he's like, "You should really apologize to Momo. You know, you hurt him," and she's like, "You're right." And he's like, "And also me, it's like, shut the fuck up, Sokka." So I was like, "Yeah, that's fair."
It didn't felt like actually hanging out with my brother again. Like we would give each other crap. I love when he was like, "You've been had. She wants it for herself." And Katara is just like, "You, like, how dare you? How dare you call me out on something that's true?"
Hey, they are still siblings. Like,
teenage.
They would take a bullet for one another if it came to it. But they still have their little petty arguments.
They would take a bullet for each other unless they're the one shooting them.
Look, the water siblings are the non-toxic version of the fire siblings, where your sibling is both your greatest ally and your worst enemy. You would die for them, but you would also murder them. Like that is sibling code.
It is a sibling
Pretty
trait
much.
that I have not super familiar with.
Hey, don't worry about it.
Yeah, no one kills my sibling except me.
Exactly. Exactly. That's why when people say that Azula would help Zhao kill Zuko, I'm like, absolutely not. Azula definitely has no one kills him but me energy, and then she kills him.
Azula would kill steal from Zhao.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Alrighty, so speak, Ryoma. Tell us about pirates and your thoughts on them.
I hate pirates. They keep pillaging and raping our women. They steal our gold. They're the worst.
In this episode, hey Ryoma, in this episode, Aang did a pirate impression. Can you do a pirate impression?
Well, arg, matey.
Can you haggle us?
Haggle us for 2 copper bars.
Yeah, that was funny. I like that.
That was great.
Could you do with 2 cowboy bottoms?
It's not as amusing the second time, boy.
Oh shit! That was
How about 3?
All right, get out of here.
Oh, come on!
I like how Aang mentions that he used to look up to them, and I'm like, why would Aang look up to pirates? Like, oh, right. Pirates are actually really nomadic when you think about it.
That is true.
He is so
They're
young.
like nomads of the sea.
Yeah.
Plus, every kid has
Also,
a
he's
pirate
12
phase
and
growing
pirates
up.
are
I
cool.
refuse to not
Yeah.
believe
I mean, Aang is 12. Like that's
He's
about
12.
the age you love pirates.
Yeah.
Yarr.
Yar, har, beedle-dee, being a pirate.
Yar, pirate.
Zilla, why do you
You are a pirate.
Zilla?
Dude, Zilla, we should totally do a cover of that song with Ozai and Azula. Can we please?
We got us a map.
And you,
Lead us to
see
a
that the
hidden
princess
box.
by
That could be a good video.
Very deep away.
At the risk of outing how Gen Z I am, Zilla, why the fuck do you sound like exactly like Pirate Foxy right now?
What?
What?
From Five Nights?
Freddy's?
A Five Nights at Freddy's joke, yeah.
He-
sounds
wait.
like
Ryoma,
Pirate
you are the
Foxy.
bridge between Gen Z and millennials. Explain. Be the bridge.
I
between
didn't
the
even
worlds.
know they even talk.
Yeah, they do in like Ultimate Custom Night.
And what do you mean I am the bridge between?
You are the
Like,
avatar, bridge
the
between the
natural world and the Zoomer
generations.
world.
Explain.
I'm gonna disavow Cade on this one. That is not a Gen Z thing. That is a specific Cade thing in this instance.
Curtis, just because you're not in touch with Gen Z doesn't mean you get to speak for them.
Oh, sorry. That's true.
Oh,
I am a
damn.
self-proclaimed observer of Gen Z, not a participant.
Oh, Curtis follows the Prime Directive. He observes, but he does not interfere. Anyway, yeah. So sometimes on these streams, I'm afraid I'm going to reveal just how much of like an internet shitlord memester I am, and I almost just made like a deep cut, and I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. I caught myself. Yeah, no, I really love how well characterized all of them are, and I hope that if the live action, I mean, we know it's going to continue, but I hope that Kia Wentio is given more. I know a lot of people think that she's a bad actress, and I don't think that's fair. Go watch Anne with an E or Beans. She is an incredibly talented actress, especially in Anne with an E. Oh my gosh. The performance she gives there is heartrending, and I can see why they cast her as Katara, and it's just such a shame that they gave her nothing to work with here. So please, if anyone here is listening, don't blame child actors for the scripts that adults write and the direction that adults force on them. Kia Wentio is very talented. Go check out Anne with an E and see for yourself. She would be a fantastic Katara given the right material. And I'll stand by that.
Yeah.
The kids are the actors actually do a good job with what they're given. Like,
absolutely.
I think they portray the fun sides aids well when they're given the opportunity.
That's exactly it.
Casting and acting on Anne is excellent.
That's exactly it. I think it's 100% a scripting and direction issue. This is not on these kids, and it really sucks to see them get the brunt of the harassment for something that had no power over.
That pretty much sums up the series. It like you see glimpses of greatness, but it's just not quite materializing how you hope.
The only one I don't like is Sokka. No offense to the actor. I'm sure Ozzy is a very nice person. He was very sweet to me when I met him. He's just not who I would have cast for Sokka.
Well, that aside, how would you say his performance was?
I think he had the same problem all the others had. I think he comes off better because he gets to have quips, and quips are much easier to do than clunky dialogue. But when he has to do a dramatic scene, like during Yue's sacrifice, he has the same problem. Bad script and terrible direction. He's just standing there going, no, Yue, no. And I want to be fair to him. How the hell is someone supposed to deliver that and not look stupid? Like,
not even Sam Jackson can deliver prequel lines.
Like that was an awful way to direct that scene, in my opinion. And so I think he came off incredibly stilted there. But let's be honest, that's not his fault any more than it is anyone else's. I think him, like everyone else, gave the best they could, given the material they could, and that's especially impressive for kids that are as young as they are.
Oh yeah. Alrighty, so we have our final three opinions. We have James, Iris, and Dorn. James, opinionate.
Okay, so this episode was the first to mention the Tsungi horn, I believe.
Yes.
And what kind of bothers me is that Iroh then says, I think we need to get woodwinds for music night, implying that the Tsungi horn is not a woodwind, which is interesting because the bass sound for the Tsungi horn that we start hearing when we start hearing it is a duduk, which is a double reed, which is a woodwind instrument. Like they apply a convolution effect to meld sort of elements of a trombone's tone into the duduk. So it does have brass-like qualities, but it is still primarily a woodwind instrument, and yeah, that kind of irked me. That's yeah, it is cool that they mentioned it, and they mentioned the music night.
Yeah,
and that's it.
Ooh. All right, cool. Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know, the Tsungi horn is a fictional instrument that was invented for Avatar, and they actually use it in the soundtrack. The way that you create it, that sound for the Tsungi horn, is that you combine an Armenian double-reeded instrument called a duduk with a trombone, something that you use a process called audio convolution to do. However, audio convolution is not made for combining two instruments. It's made for adding like ambience, a specific type of reverb, right?
Yeah, most engineers would call it a reverb effect, yeah.
So there is no documentation that we could find about how to do this.
And yet James, the mad lad that he is, most people we reached out to who do Avatar songs say that they usually just use a duduk or an oboe because no one knew how to do this. And then mad lad James, when we're about to give up, just shows up and goes, "Yeah, I figured it out." It just drops it.
Yeah,
So
trivia.
that's why we have the Sungi horn in our soundtrack,
It-
thanks to James.
It was mostly trial and error, really.
The more you know, and knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Zilla,
The
I
real
feel like
American hero.
Zilla, one of these days we're gonna be at a con together. We're gonna be intolerable. We have like all the same memes. I can't wait.
Maybe
That would be-
someday.
Maybe
We will-
someday.
We will try. We will try our darndest. Alrighty then, Iris.
All right. I have some. Most of the opinions I have on this episode have either already been expressed or they're very like petty nerdery service level stuff. I think like is by show like the fact that you can separately buy like stones for it and that like Iroh seems to be like, oh, I have this rare strategy that requires this stone. Is it like a trading trading tile game, I suppose? Is Iroh is he part of the gamer family? Does he play Fantasy Magic the Gathering?
He clearly is a gamer. He takes it very seriously.
Yeah.
What's
Like,
up,
is it-
gamers?
Just his tile collection. Like I'm very unclear on. I mean, it could very well just be a pay to win like tile collecting game. He is part of the royal family. He would.
I'm so sad that we saw Sokka learn Pai Sho from Tian Dao a little bit, but he wasn't very good at it. And I'm sad that they never extrapolated on that. Imagine Iroh being like, I want to enter this tournament, but it's only people under a certain age, but I would be so good at it. He's like, I need to train you, Sokka. I wanted Zuko to do it, but he won't. Like, I'm going to put you into this match.
Yeah, I am here for Yu-Gi-Oh within Avatar. Actually, I
It's
want
like
to see
$1
this
million
episode.
baby, but with Pai Sho, and it's Sokka for some reason.
That sounds like a good filler episode, honestly. I mean, I know I know book 4 we're technically not on the market to do filler episodes due to our limits.
Sokka is
but
pretty good at in the moment.
actually
trade.
do
He needs
have,
to learn deck building from Iroh.
Spoilers, but the writers' room actually does have a planned scene way later where Sokka plays Pai Sho. So hey, maybe you'll get your wish.
Okay.
I've
And-
written,
just
I've
have to
written a
get
filler
there.
episode
You're thinking
as well.
of literally everything.
I think like aside from the Iroh game, I also love the face he made when he held up the monkey statue. And
Freaking Iroh face.
I-
He's like,
yeah, he just imitates the monkey. It's so good. But I think Avatar does this thing that so when watching action movies and such, I'm a big henchman enjoyer. And
Okay.
I like all of these little groups of little niche elite fighters that show up in Avatar. We are about to see some really good ones in the prison episode. I love the pirates. I love the Kyoshi warriors, even though they're less henchmen because they're on the good guy side. But you know,
They
Uh,
all are very high quality henchmen in this series.
yeah, I love these sort of, and especially early on in the early to mid seasons, so 1 and 2 basically. Like you get to see a lot of rep for just non-bending fighters who just use martial arts that
Yeah.
incorporate unique weapons. And there is just, I think the pirates are the first, like, the pirates and the Kyoshi warriors are the first really strong showings of that. And they all, you know, they have their very unique stylings, and I like that the pirates are all just kind of scummy, but also, you know, I think it's kind of interesting in a, this is the lineage of Hollywood and all that, that the pirates do all seem to be pretty queer-coded.
It's,
You know, they wear lipstick, one of them has a heart in the back of his
Sure.
head. It's,
Pirates are always queer.
Yeah,
Change
it
my
really
mind.
oh, yeah, no. It's like
To
that
go
whole
off of
cinematic
I mean,
something
just
you
look at the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Yeah, yeah,
go-
yeah.
to go off of something you
Sometimes
said,
you just
Iris.
like.
Okay.
Maybe they just don't give a fool.
To go off something you said, Iris, I think
Mhm,
a decent part of the fact that in book 1, the non-benders, like, and we're gonna see, like, I think next week when the freedom fighters show up. I think that's next week.
mhm.
I think the reason non-benders have a lot of emphasis in book 1 is because I think the biggest reason is having the non-benders be a huge threat to our gang this early on works because this is the weakest that the gang is ever
Yeah,
going to
it's
Oh
be at.
yeah, it will make sense
Like Gunning
later.
does have
Yeah,
just a
because
higher cap on it, but that
once
doesn't mean that non-benders don't get to show off.
well, no, they do. But I think the reason it happens in a huge concentrated amount here, especially like with the Northern Air Temple that's coming up, the Freedom Fighters and everything, that
The archers.
once
Oh my god, the archers.
once Aang starts learning waterbending, and especially once Toph shows up, like the only non-bender that even starts to threaten them at that point are Mei and Ty Lee.
Which is like that's nice to have as a late inclusion as well, because they're like highly specialized non-benders who can just like keep up. And I just, I like that all of this. I love the animation on bending, like the different martial arts traditions that go into it, and even the different traditions within those 4 quadrants, or I guess 3, because we have 1 airbender. But then outside of that, you just get this sort of thing. I remember like watching I believe the Jafu like countdown of their favorite anime fights, and he even mentioned that like, man, I hate Jet, and I hate that Jet has like the coolest swords in this game. But that's next episode.
The hook swords
Like,
are pretty
just
neat.
hating Jet more because he's cool.
Whoever made Jet, I am convinced really liked Cabal in Mortal Kombat.
Oh my
All
god,
he
you're
needs is
so
the
right.
super speed.
Like he even kind of does that. Like he fights an airbender and kind of uses it. Okay, so yeah, I have mostly non-sophisticated opinions on this episode. I thought the three faction fight scene was really cool. It was very fun in a sort of like Guy Ritchie kind of way, where you just get the attention on the scroll and everyone is just sort of fighting around it. It's
Iris,
neat.
do not describe the fight scene so well that you do not notice your own stream is running off. Lucia, we don't have time for a proverb. It's no proverb. Just kidding. I just love that whole line. Like,
Yeah.
It could be a proverb.
guys, you don't even know. Like, I cannot wait for you to hear Iris in the search. She plays Alua, who is Ursa's assistant, and is just like such a scheming, like schemer. Like, I love it because Iris puts on the most innocent voice when she's talking to Ursa, and then she goes to snitch to Ozai, and I'm just like, I love it. Like, it's so good.
It's going to be very difficult to do because I am a pure sweet cinnamon roll in real life. Am I doing this right, Lucia?
See? She just did it! She just did it! Where do you think Azula learned that shit? She watched Alua doing that her whole life. I'm taking notes.
All right. Dorn is our second to last person, and then I will close this out.
Yeah. I don't have much real. Really, I think like what I love so much about this episode is Cal already covered it like so amazingly, like the focus on Katara, and the fact that I think this episode proves like, look, in storytelling, it's okay for even like the pure-hearted, like brightest spot characters in a story to have flaws. It's okay because it creates that sort of like different dynamics and conflict. Like especially like me, I always also get affected so much when Katara snaps at Aang. I'm like, you're snapping at a 12-year-old. Ouch! Like, and you can see it in Aang's face as well. It's like, dude, that hurts. Oh, I'm surprised we also haven't touched about the fact that once again the cabbage merchant is a victim of Aang shenanigans.
I love the fake out there that at first he does no damage to the cabbages, and then he just flips the whole thing.
Yes.
The biggest menace. The biggest menace.
This place is worse than Omashu. He recognizes it. But yeah, Star are great. Pirates are great, of course. Yeah, I do agree that now watching it and the way all of you guys have like been talking about it, Zuko being like trying to be like Azula is pretty on point, especially because he dangles Katara's necklace in front of her, saying like, I can give you this, but you got to give something for me. And then also the way he tried to barter with the pirates with the scroll. But then it's so great that once again Sokka being the brains, like when they were all like in deep trouble, that Sokka was like, "You guys know it's the Avatar, and he's worth a lot more." And Zuko just badmouths Sokka. "Shut your mouth, you water tribe peasant." That line makes me laugh all the time. But yeah, it is
So out of
definitely like,
pocket.
yeah, like
Yes, he's trying to split us
How
up. Yeah,
petty
it's
he
working.
yeah, exactly. Like, but yeah, it is definitely like Zuko trying to emulate and all that. But and it's also again like yeah, we shouldn't like deviate from the fact like yeah, this is obviously leaning into like the role he performs in book one because it's like dude, that's not great. But I will say that one thing that the one bright spot aside from like I was little like I found the Lotus Style Prince Zuko. It's also the one about Zuko literally laughing out like heartily when he sees that the pirates lost their ship. Because for a second, it's like
It
he's just
happened to
like
them, not
kidding
me.
him. Yeah, it's like, ha ha, it sucks to be you right now. Like, it's just like considering how much we've seen of Zuko so far, angsty and all that. Like, it's just like I believe it's really like the first real spot that we see of like yeah, him just being kind of like a normal teenager in that moment, like expressing an emotion that's not, rage and all that for once. Like it's just so funny. And then actually regarding Ira with the lotus tile and all that, I'm actually starting to suspect that considering like yeah, we're saying that maybe Ira is like a pro gamer or something in in this universe, like maybe this he was actually playing 3D chess on all of us, that he did know that the lotus tie was in his sleeve, but he just used the whole thing as an excuse to just like find chill things to do with his nephew. Like, and I could almost buy that.
I could see that.
But I do think he was pretty crestfallen when Zuko threw the tile away. He was like, "No!" But yeah, like it's just great. But yeah, poor cabbage merchant. That's yet another bill to go into Aang's bills.
The fund,
Like yeah,
the Harmony Restoration Fund.
yeah, it's gonna be part of like a court order or something.
Put it on Quay's bill.
Yeah.
I gotta go feed this Fire Lord over here before bed.
Okay.
And we got some medicine to take on my end, so I'm gonna have to say good night. But I love all of you as always. It's such a pleasure to get to hang out with you guys and chat. Was popping today.
Yeah.
My doggy.
I gotta return to Valhalla to slumber and feed. Anyone who wants to join us tomorrow, same time for Zuko Plays Dishonored.
Where Azula will be here from the beginning this time.
Yes, that's what you think.
Wait, what?
Wait, what? All right, Kate and I are going. Good night, you guys. Love you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. As the final person to pass my opinions, before I do, I need to congratulate this group real quick. And you know what I need to congratulate you guys on? What? This stream is currently running for 3 hours and 45 minutes, which means we managed to get under an hour for all of our thoughts per episode. So bravo to all of you.
At least on average, under an hour.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We did watch 3 episodes, right? Not 4.
Yeah,
so.
we watched 3. So take away the 1 hour. That means we have talked for about 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah. This is about the length of our first stream. Only our second one went over 4.5 hours.
Yeah, right. So now we have established that as the outlier, not the norm.
Yes.
Well, I think I gotta go feed my dog.
Already.
All right.
Feed the good doggo.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to leave to feed myself soon.
Have a good one.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You too. Yeah. My final bits to say on this. Honestly, we've gone so long. I've honestly forgot what I've wanted to say, but I'm pretty sure some of it was covered in what everyone else said. One final thing I will say is just the world feels diverse. The world feels like it's got actual civilizations and factions in it. And again, like the pirates existing is just another one of those things like, yes, they sail around, they take stuff, and then they sell it. It's just a nice little extra thing. And again, like everyone else said, this was a character flaw exposing episode. So yeah, very, 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 very good to see for the development. and yeah, for the overall betterment of the show. So, someone remind me what comes up next after this. I forget.
After this is episode 10.
Yet.
Yes, what is episode 10?
Let me pull up the episode list.
It's Jet.
Jet is next.
Oh yeah, Jet.
And what about the other two?
The Great Divide.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
And The Storm.
Okay.
Ooh, these are good ones.
Okay. Oh, wait, hang on a sec. I just realized, is the Great Divide going to be right in the center
Yes.
Yeah.
of our watching? Oh, okay.
How ironic.
Oh no! How dare you, Curtis?
Interesting. Okay, yeah, Jet the Great Divide. Alrighty then. So for closing announcements, as I mentioned, tomorrow the long delayed Valentine's video where you guys, maybe not you guys specifically, you had to have gone to Avatar Wiki, but you, the fans, have written Valentines to the Avatar cast, and we voiced them, and I put little animations to them, and everyone did a really good job. And so
And
I'm really happy I got to do this again.
We are releasing the Valentine's video on St. Patrick's Day. Solid work timing it with just the next big holiday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure that was the plan the whole time.
That was, it's a plan. It is objectively a plan, a thing that could have happened. That could have been planned.
Yeah.
And there's
Neither
not a
confirmed nor
single color of green in that video.
There except Toph is the only
Toph
green
is
thing in
there.
that
Oh, yeah.
whole video.
Lao Bei Fong is also there. Is he wearing green?
He's not in it. He's just mentioned.
He is just mentioned. He's not in it.
So only one person, one character is saved.
Is Iroh wearing green in that start?
Oh, he is.
no.
He is.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
Iroh is safe. Yes.
Okay.
So
Cool.
So yeah,
Two whole green things. We
two
did
whole
it.
green things. Yes.
We did it.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. So yeah. Unless anyone else has anything else to say, I think that's where we're gonna call it for the night.
Go for it.
Yep, it's almost morning. I need to go sleep.
Okay. You enjoy that.
I will, hopefully.
Alrighty then. From all of us here at Book 4 Air Restoration Project, again, thank you all again for 25,000 subscribers. You guys are great. And we got more cool stuff on the horizon coming sooner than later, I guess.
Before summer's end.
Before summer's
end.
Yes. Alrighty then.
All right. Good night, everyone.
I need to go. I'll see
All
you
right.
later.
Good night.